An old man who fished alone in a skiff at the Gulf Stream, but little did they know that Ernest Hemingway actually fished the Marquesas 28 miles west of Key West, where he got caught in a storm and he wrecked his vessel, hence the name of the Papas Pilar Marquesas blend. Very intriguing chapter here, complete with popcorn, on Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man in the Sea.
Let me see here. Let me, if I can hold those up.
Do you need instructions?
I do need instructions to open these up. So, but before we do, I want to welcome both of you to the show. Welcome to Connected by Water, presented by Joey Cardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We are here today with show regular. We will title, that's your official title now, show regular. George Poveromo, and we are delighted to have Debbie Hanson with us and to join us today. Drove all the way over from the West Coast for us. So
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. So I think the funniest part about this whole situation is she came all the way over from the West Coast and still beat me here. And I live 5 minutes from here. I walk in here and she is like waiting for me, like I am smiling ear to ear.
And always paranoid I'm going to be late or I'm going to run into traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was just great. I was like, whoops. I said,
it's the fishing guide in me coming out. I have to be early, extra early.
Well, that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, man, I want to go fishing with her. She seems like she's on it. So
bonus points, too, for being there early. I mean, if you're going to fish, definitely want to be there ahead of the game.
Yep, absolutely. And how you doing, John? Good?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. You got
I'm
your
good.
mic
Waiting for you to open up those cookies.
Yeah, wait for we're gonna pour some rum.
John's like getting ready to fall asleep already.
Now, George.
Yes.
We have in front of us a bottle of Papa's Pilar.
Yeah, that's the only way I get
blend.
Re-invited back, because you know I bring these.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone's going to receive our official blue cup.
Sounds good.
It's only official today.
We won't mix it with a hand sanitizer. That could be bad.
It's good to know you match your cups with your decor.
Yeah, I tried to.
It's always good.
That's Jenny. I have to thank Jenny for that. And we'll get to the cookies after the rum. So now watch George laugh at me while I fumble through this.
No, I opened it for you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It's a time.
That was so nice of you.
You're the best. You're the best.
I don't want to sit there
and
watch it 10 minutes try to open it.
Yeah.
He did this the first time. It took him, Debbie.
I saw it. I watched it.
All thumbs.
I have not had the Marquesas yet, so I'm very much.
That is my favorite of Papa's Pilar Marquesas, but it's from the sentimental value too, because the Marquesas are. It's the 28 miles west of Key West, and you can do the Atlantic side. But I love the rock piles on the Gulf side. Grew up doing that in that area, so it has special meaning. So it probably tastes a little bit better. Because of that.
Of course.
I'm trying to keep this sticker in there, and now I can't close it. Lord in heaven, some brand ambassador I'm going to be. So did I let the cat out of the bag? I did. Okay, sorry. So cheers.
Well, cheers. Thank you, Dennis.
Fishing, good friends, Florida,
Debbie.
And welcome you guys into the holiday season. So
and you finally got Debbie Hanson talked into coming over to the real coast where the real fishing takes place.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, my gosh.
Here we go. He wants to kick it off
begins.
right off the bat, George. George never fails.
Well,
right? You're always bringing the thunder.
One thing I'll throw right out here, just because I know you're real close if you haven't inked a deal with Papa's Pilar.
Mm-hmm. No, we're good.
A sponsor, we're beautiful, good. Which is fantastic.
We're totally good.
So now that you have him as a sponsor, I'm thinking now maybe, since it's going to be part of pretty much every podcast, start doing a podcast around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. This 10 o'clock in the morning drinking rubs. This serious wino stuff.
So we did discuss that. So John and I are going to move the podcast recording time to late Monday.
Loving it.
Around
there
4 o'clock. End of day Monday.
There you go.
Sound like a good idea, Debbie?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we move the store, we don't think we're going to have the retail portion of it open on Mondays. So a lot of studio galleries are not open on Mondays anyway. It's just sort of a traditional thing. Plus, you don't make a lot of art sales on Mondays retail-wise. So I think what we're going to do is, when we do it from the store, we'll be able to relax and come in and hang out in the store ahead of time and go right into the new podcast room that we're building. We're going to build a new fishbowl and And yeah, so I don't know what we're going to do for the next few months while we're building out the new space. We may stay here for a little bit. We might record from Harris's Deerfield house out east.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Something like that. So he's offered that. So one way or another, we're going to figure it out.
Although it's always good to give people rum and then let them shop.
That is true.
They spend money that way, Dennis.
That
they
is
spend
true.
money that way.
Well, we can, you know, my wife can attest for that. We're the worst at that. Like we go down to the beach or something and we go out for a couple of drinks and we'll start strolling and spend hundreds of dollars. It's a lot of fun, let me tell you. So, God, thank you so much. I want to take a look at these cookies here that you brought in. So you brought these cookies and they were hand created by your friend.
My friend Eve Nolan of Eve's Custom Cookies and Cakes out of Fort Myers, actually out of the Alva area, which is north of Fort Myers. She does an amazing job.
These are beautiful and they're, look at that, hand packaged.
Look at that, connected by water cookies.
I love it. Would you like one, George?
I'm going to definitely have one. And they're good, too. I've had them before.
Here you go.
Thank
for
you so much.
And we're not going to give one
I
to
heard
John.
that these cookies pair very well with rum.
Well,
Yeah.
With the Marquesas blend.
This is breakfast, so I'm going for mine.
So this is wonderful because it's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, it is Thanksgiving.
You know, I don't know if we're probably not going to get this episode up before Thanksgiving, but still, this is when we're recording it. It's a couple of days before Thanksgiving, so you know, I want to thank you guys for coming in again, and I want to talk a lot about Fort Myers today. If you wouldn't mind, if maybe you can educate us on a few things. I know you fish over there a lot, and
I do.
And
Every once in a while.
well, I'm saying I was looking.
Oh,
at
you're
George.
talking to
Yeah,
George?
I was saying I know from both of you guys, but you
Not
know,
a lot.
she seems like she's the expert
No, she is the
here
expert
at
over
the
there.
table
Without
today.
a doubt.
So
I'm just gonna be quiet.
Yeah,
But I do more freshwater.
yeah. So you do a
So,
lot of freshwater.
yep.
You do a lot of inshore.
Yep.
You know, is it mostly artificial that you're fishing with?
Yeah,
or-
yeah. When I'm doing the freshwater fishing, when I on all my charters, I do mostly all fly, light tackle, light tackle and fly. Yep.
Nice. I was checking
That's
out
it.
your Instagram, and it's quite the impressive lineup of fish you're holding up there. So
Yeah.
I saw that clown knife that you recently caught was impressive. I've never caught a clown knife.
That was with Alberto Nee, Crazy Alberto. Yeah. That was my second clown knife, actually.
Was it? I'm supposed to be knocking that off my list here soon, but
Yeah.
I'm also supposed to be knocking a bunch of snook off the list.
But
with,
that's this
with
coast.
John too. So yeah. Yeah. Take me through a little bit. The reason I'm really talking on the podcast like my mouth full while I'm eating. The reason why I liked having both of you here in the studio at the same time is because you guys have done a lot of work together in the past. So take me through some of that relationship that you guys have together.
Geez, I'm trying to even think where it started. I guess it starts back with the seminar series.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always trying to involve more female faculty members. And it's very difficult to find, I mean, it's easy to find females who fish. I mean, that's a piece of cake. But it's difficult for what we're doing to find somebody, a female, who has the knowledge that could run up against, you know, the more experienced male anglers and that could talk the talk. In other words, when you're up there in our stage and we're discussing subtleties, lure rigging, you know, what pound fluorocarbon, how do you tie it, what are some of the subtleties of working the bait, to talk about all aspects, it falls off dramatically. We have difficulties trying to find what I like to call, and no offense, take legitimate saltwater angling females that could actually talk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
So in our massive search going out there, Debbie Hanson, the name kept coming back to me, Debbie Hanson. So I would to check her out. So I would check her out on social media, and I see a bunch of freshwater fish, very impressive freshwater fish. Because I said, man, I mean, she's got this freshwater thing nailed down. And, you know, what about the saltwater? Then they start looking deeper. There's redfish here, trout here, some tarpon over here. So, well, it's worthy of a phone call. Let me talk to her. And correct me if the timing's off here. So I spoke to her a bit and felt her out on the phone. And I think the first thing you did with me was a seminar series, right?
It was. Yeah, it was. I think it was about, 3 years ago?
I'm losing track of time.
I think it was about 3 years ago.
So I said, okay, well, let me give her a try. She's out of Naples. She knows, not Naples, Fort Myers. She knows her stuff. So we came to Fort Myers with the seminar series, and she was part of our panel member.
on that particular day and did an exceptionally good job. I said, I was talking to Rob, our technical director, because he judges a lot of people too, as far as who's really sharp up there and who's not. And he says, she really did a super good job. So then I started thinking about that, and we were planning our television shooting schedule, and the same thing there, trying to find a female angler or a show guest that could really, like anybody could sit and crank in a fish and look great out there, but someone who could really complement the style of fishing that you're doing and be actually part of the crew.
Right.
Again, super difficult to find. And so I said, well, let me try Debbie Hanson. I said, a cool show idea would be to take her out of her element. I know she's mostly freshwater and light, inshore saltwater. So I think it was at the ACR booth at the Miami Boat Show. You were doing something there.
It was.
Walked over there when she was done with her thing and said, Debbie, we're mapping out our show schedule. And I said, would you be up to doing a show with me, being a guest angler? And I said, what I'd like to do is sort of take you out of your element. Let's go to Treasure Cay, Bahamas, jump on the Mark VI and go. And I think it'd be a cool slant, something that you don't do, the offshore stuff. And so
I never get those calls from him, by the way. Just so you know.
So it took you, 5 days to think about it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So it was
5
done.
seconds, not even.
It was done. So she had accompanied us to Treasure Cay, and we had done a show over there. So that's where we really started. And then what's good about her, as we could get into this later on in discussion, was that she's really a super good angler. Mm-hmm. And, fun to be with on the boat. And it's, like one of the guys. And I think her angle, and I know the angle is not really a good word to use, but her angle is, in what we do, is she promotes the female aspect of anglers and trying to promote saltwater fishing to female anglers and trying to grow that end of it, which is a very huge market that a lot of people take for granted. So she has been working on that aspect to build that up, has been doing an exceptional job. Mm-hmm. So she's been in a number of our seminars since, and we're in an area to fun fish. At Fort Myers, I told her to jump on the boat or come over here. So that's how that relationship started. So she's really, an ace when it comes to fishing and representing the sport of saltwater fishing and the female angler angle. Again, the word I don't like to use, but I'm using it.
It's quite the promotion right there, Debbie.
But it's all true.
Shucks, I'm blushing. It's for me and learning more about offshore fishing, which obviously on the West Coast, unless we're going to be motoring out for 2 hours. 60 miles
yeah,
out, right? I don't get a chance to do that hardly at all. I've gone down to the Keys. I used to go down to the Keys, 2006, 2000 through 2008. I fished a couple of sailfish tournaments down there, but I really, rigging and all the ins and outs that go with offshore fishing, it's definitely not my strong point at all. And I don't know anything about it. So being able to go out with a legend like George and learn so much about the offshore game and kind of help, fill in my range of experience. And that's a great thing about fishing. No matter how much you think you know, you can never know it all.
That's the truth.
It's a lifelong learning experience and amazing.
I'm going to add to this where fishing, and I've always believed this, is I think it's to be a very good angler, have those traits, it's genetic. Mm-hmm. It's something in you. And when I fished with her, now the first time we fished together was Treasure Cay, totally out of her element. She's offshore. We had her catching, hand cranking yellow eyes from 600 feet of water to, bringing a beautiful 30-some pound bull dolphin alongside a boat that I missed.
I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks leading up to this trip, by the way.
I lost it on her. And then she catches a white marlin and she releases it. But what I noticed is that you took her out of her element, but still that rhythm was there, that when she was fighting, whether it was the yellow eyes hand cranking or the white marlin, you could see the rhythm that just like takes over. So that's where that's almost like a genetic kind of a deal, that like something like that's in your soul. Mm-hmm. You could take somebody out, show them saltwater fishing, take them out a bunch, and, they'll be reeling fish and, catching fish or whatever. And some people just get good enough to be okay at it, but they lack that internal rhythm or whatever it is, and other people are born with it. And when I saw her on that trip, and then how she could adapt so quickly to fighting a lot of these fish and everything, that's when I knew that, okay, it's going back to the genetic stuff. That is legitimately in her.
And I think true passion speaks to that as well.
Well, that too, but you could have passion, but you could still not be.
Oh yeah, no,
that-
for
that
sure.
good
No,
with it.
I'm not.
Until he had me
diminishing what
deep
you said.
dropping, and then I was like, are these fish ever coming up? What the heck?
I don't want to reel them up, so I'll let her do it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, you brought up a topic of the promotion of women who fish and girls who fish or whatever the hashtag is, and we are obviously a big proponent of that here at the studio. As a father of a daughter who shows promise as an angler now, I think it's really important. I don't want to ever have her face a wall that she doesn't need to unnecessarily face. My wife did not grow up fishing. I'm working on that, but she's doing a great job. We recently took a trip down to the Keys, and she caught the biggest trout of anyone on the boat down in the backcountry.
Awesome.
So trying to get her a little addicted to it, you know what I mean, in some calmer seas, and you go in the backcountry, you know what I mean, get her reeling up some fish. So, but obviously some of the work we do, with other women in the area, it's important, because it doesn't need to be just a male-dominated sport. There's no reason for that whatsoever. So take me through some of the things that you do to promote that aspect, and possibly maybe touch on, why freshwater over saltwater to start out with, or your evolution, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I think as far as speaking to the how am I getting more women involved in the sport, or how do we as an industry is the better question, get more women involved in the sport. I think really it just comes down to skills and abilities, and us always striving to be better anglers, no matter if we're male or female. I think it's important to give women a forum and the support that they need, because that was one of the things when I was growing up. I'm so grateful that my grandpa got me out on the water when I was little. I mean, both my parents worked full time. Dad was in heating and air conditioning, blue collar worker, and worked long hours.
My dad too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom was in human resources for a company called Masonite that made hardwood paneling back in the day. So both of them worked really long hours at their jobs and worked hard. And every summer, they were working. So my grandparents took me up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and my grandpa got me out on the boat. And it was never a question of, oh, well, I should be taking her brother. It was just put Debbie in the boat. She's coming with me. She's going to be my, I'm taking her fishing. And I never thought anything about the fact that I was a girl and I was fishing. It's just something I loved, and I love spending time with him, and all of those memories on the water from, the time I was so young just kept building on each other. And that was kind of the one thing that brought my family together. The one way we were all connected by water as a family. A lot of times life got crazy, but the fact of the matter is whenever we were all out on that boat, it was like family time, and those memories that I really cherished with my grandfather. And it always amazed me. I remember sitting on the end of his fishing pier in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, just looking in his tackle box at all the different lures and just thinking to myself, well, I wonder what that one does, and what does that one do? And just, and the fact that he knew, okay, we're going to go fish for largemouth bass on the north end of the lake because it's shallower up there. And then we're going to go troll some weed beds for walleye. And it was just so cool to me that he knew where different species of fish would be holding in that lake. And I just remember being so young, but being so entranced by that. And then, I think as time went on, when I was growing up, I hate to say it, but I really didn't fit in with a lot of my friends, because a lot of my girlfriends were into Barbie dolls and stuff. And I was one that was out in the yard building forts and catching frogs and climbing trees and making mud pies. And, I hated wearing dresses. I was more comfortable wearing jeans and a ripped up sweatshirt. And that was just how it was. But there weren't, and at that time it was kind of frustrating, because it's like, okay, there's no one out there that I can really relate to, I mean, this was like in the 80s as I was growing up, and there really wasn't anyone that I knew of that I could relate to. So I think as time went on and I started to do more, I started a blog. Both my parents actually were diagnosed with cancer when I was in my 30s, early 30s. And
Oh man.
it was one of those situations where I just realized, you know what, life is so short and it's too short to be doing something you don't love and you're not passionate about. So I started a blog on the evenings, working on the weekends. And I really wanted it to be a resource and a place where women could go if they had a question about fishing or if they wanted to learn something and get that information from another female angler, but also feel like, hey, here's some place I can go. I can comment on the blog if I've got questions about how to set up a Texas rig for bass, or if I've got questions about, you know, what leader I should be buying if I'm inshore fishing for sea trout or snook or redfish. And it just grew from there. Take Me Fishing, one of the marketing coordinators for Take Me Fishing, ended up seeing my blog, and they asked me to submit a proposal to do a weekly blog for their website. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, wow, someone's going to pay me to write about something that I love. And everything just kind of started building from there. But always keeping in mind that I wanted education to be central and I wanted women to feel supported, because there was a time in my life where I didn't feel like I really had that, if that makes sense.
Role models are important. I mean,
So important.
to anyone growing up. I mean,
So important.
either male or female. I mean, I remember there was a time, you know, a few years back when I think it was Charles Barkley was saying some things in the media about, you know, role models. He's like, I'm not a role model. I just play basketball. And there was a big argument about that. Like, well, I think there's a lot of, like, you know, young 10-year-old boys or teenage boys across the country that would disagree, and they'd absolutely look at you as a role model. When you get to a certain level, you have a responsibility, I think. That's what they say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And I do truly believe that. So, you know, I'm looking at you going, man, that's just fantastic, saying that, no, you didn't have that role model and you become one. You know what I mean? You basically put your money, you know, where your mouth is, and you're just like, you know what, if that's not there, I'm going to carve this out and I'm going to create it for myself, and I'm going to be that because it's missing in the world.
But then
impressive.
going back, thinking about when I first moved to Florida, I would go into the tackle shop and I would pick up a Saltwater Sportsman hardcover book on all the different inshore and offshore species, and I'd read George's
Now you're making me feel
articles.
old now.
and you know, of course, yeah. I mean, come on,
Like
stop.
Father Time here. I mean, if you gave me the 10 Commandments, I could hold them up right here.
Come on now. It wasn't that long ago.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to illustrate that. George.
You don't look anything like Charlton Heston. You don't look anything like Charlton Heston, by the way.
Is that an insult or a compliment? I don't know.
No, it's a compliment.
That's a
Trust me.
compliment. Yeah, it's a compliment.
No, so I mean, yeah, thank goodness I have people like George to be role models, you know, as has gone on, because I think with what we do in this industry, you have to diversify yourself, right? If you're gonna
It's true.
If you're
It's
going to
very
be
true.
successful, you have to. I mean, look at exactly what you're doing. You've got the fine art, you're doing apparel, you're doing your podcasts, and you really have to have multiple touch points and always, I think, you know, be providing that value and education to people. That's how we continue to pay it forward, get the next generation involved in the sport, and hopefully keep inspiring people.
Yeah,
you know, through
absolutely.
our love.
And she has one other thing that's really fueling her for, you know, this, you know, the time that we're in right now, is that females or women have become so important now, not only in the fishing aspect, but in the decision of whether or not that family buys a boat or doesn't buy a boat. Now, you turn the hands of
that's a good
time
point.
back 20 years, you know, maybe, and for sure beyond that, you know, guy walks in, hey, I love this 23 center console here. You know what? That's pretty good. I'm just going to buy the thing. You know, no consulting with a wife or whatever. But now when you look at boats, center console boats are costing as much as a house. It's no longer, you know, rarely is it one person's decision now. Now it's a family-oriented decision where the wife gets involved. So now,
Oh, yeah.
right, the man who wants to go buy the boat, now he's got to sweet talk her and that. But look at these amenities. You imagine going out here and this and that. So now the female becomes a major part of boat buying decisions where that was not a factor or a major factor a minimum 20 years ago, and for sure beyond that. So now it's a whole other world that we're living in.
Plus, think about all the women that are buying their own boats now, and how many more women you're starting to see come onto the scene as guides, wanting to get out there on the water on their own, because we all know that feeling of freedom that comes with being out there on the water is nothing that can be replaced by anything else. I mean, when you're getting out there and you're heading out to your fishing spot first thing in the morning and that sun is coming up,
It's the best, isn't it?
there is no
Yeah.
better feeling than that. You can't replicate that. And I think, you know, it used to really bother me. And it's one of the things I think that's fueled me, because I would hear a lot of my female friends say, they'd see me out there fishing and they'd be like, well, I need somebody to take me fishing. And that would really almost kind of like break my heart. I'm like, why do they feel like they can't get out there and do it on their own? Why do they feel like someone has to take them? So how can I help them feel empowered to get out there and actually learn everything they need to know to do it on their own, whether it's from a kayak, from the shore, from a 15-foot john boat, from an offshore fishing boat, regardless.
Yep.
You can get out there and do it. You can learn. We have so many resources at our fingertips these days, between, you know, a lot of the boat manufacturers that are offering fishing classes and boating classes, between the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary offering boating safety courses. I mean, there are so many resources out there if we just tap into them and take advantage of them.
Yeah, and I think the guys need to take some of those boater safety courses as well.
Oh, you think?
So, yeah. So not just the women that need to take those.
I mean, you're right. It's everybody across the board.
So I want to ask you, like, on your charters, do you find you're getting more women coming to, or are you getting kind of a mix of both?
It's a mix. I'm getting a lot of couples, lot of couples. I get a lot of husbands who will call me and say, I'd love to book a trip with you for my wife and I. So I'm getting, I would say probably half, 50% of my trips are couples. And then,
That's good.
yeah,
That's good. And you're getting a lot of the women that come on your trip, like, because you kind of alluded to, oh, I wish someone could take me. Are you finding you're teaching a lot of them on the water, or are you bringing on, like, you know, anglers that already kind of know what they're doing?
No, a lot of them are new to fishing. And I think, so getting back to your earlier question about freshwater fishing and the inshore fishing, I think that, especially with freshwater, I think a lot of people feel less intimidated by it. There's a lot of uncertainties that are taken out. I mean, it's freshwater fishing, a lot of people who live in Southwest Florida are from the Midwest. They're familiar with fishing on lakes, freshwater fishing, catching bass. So there's already a familiarity factor there.
Yeah.
And then they come down to Florida and it's like, this is a great way to kind of segue them into our sport and get them out on the water, get them comfortable with it. Get them comfortable, with using the gear and fishing artificials and different baits and lures, and to see if they want to get into fly fishing or not. So they get that base, that comfort level. And then from there, it just builds. I mean, you think about most all of us. I mean, I bet anything, you started off fishing for bass when you were growing up here. It was something we could all do from the shoreline, and it's how we got our feet wet when we were learning.
I'm what they call a West End boy. Over here, the East Coast is the beach. For you, it's the West Coast, which when I went to art school in Sarasota, I had to get used to that.
Yeah.
Because when I would always tell people, like, now I'm living on the other coast, I didn't know which way was up or down, because I would always gauge everything about where the beach is. So I would always, when people say, oh, where is it? I'm like, oh, you got to head out east that way. And then one time a buddy of mine was like, man, I kept driving all the way down 301, like, whatever. And like, almost made it to I-75. I couldn't find this place at all. I'm like, and then he says, oh, east, west, you know what I mean? That's when I kind of really learned my lesson, when I sent my buddy the wrong way. but yeah. So East Coast, West Coast thing, it's funny that it seems like the West Coasters are more from the Midwest over there, because I have some experience from living in Sarasota for a while, but most of the East Coasters are from the Northeast.
Correct. That's absolutely.
Yeah,
sure, I see that.
So I always thought that was an interesting, and I always wondered why that was, and I couldn't quite figure it out. But
the North,
that kind of explains the attitudes of both coasts.
Oh boy, here we go. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
She already knows me. She knows it.
Yep.
Look at the fishing you have off the Northeast. You got excellent canyon fishing for the tunas and everything. You've got striped bass. You have fluke. You have blackfish on the wrecks and all that. So it only goes to say that the Northeast people and anglers who come down to Southeast Florida versus the Midwest anglers or people who come to Southwest Florida, the ones from the Northeast realize what a real ocean looks like, where the ones in the Midwest, trout ponds that, so they go to Southwest Florida. I always said that over in Fort Myers, they're 190 miles away from the real ocean, which is called the Atlantic.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right, that was a joke.
Okay. Debbie, your rebuttal.
Your rebuttal.
What about all the people from the Midwest that have moved down to Southwest Florida that don't fish? Which they
There's a
should
bunch of them.
fish.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well-
Yeah. And vice versa on your coast.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who doesn't fish? I mean, we don't need to
I
talk
know,
to
right? We don't.
Actually, to be honest, there's too many people fishing now. Have you been out in that water lately, even on
Yeah.
a weekday?
Seriously.
That's true.
I think we've
Yeah.
over-promoted this.
Yeah, right.
Well, and right now, during these times, it's
Yeah.
the one thing people can get out there and do and be somewhat safe away from everyone
Yeah.
else. So, yeah.
That's
Who would
funny.
ever think that our industry, given the COVID deal and everything, our industry is an entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first one that gets knocked off the budget, the last one to recover, when things start getting better again. And here you go with a COVID craziness like we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that our industry would just, that be the end of it. It has a resurgence like,
It's been the best
no,
ever.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's like crazy. You talk about a silver lining
Yeah.
behind a dark cloud. It's like unbelievable. And that's
Most definitely.
yeah, the industry is, and all the major boat shows canceled for 21.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
done. And so it's like, it's just bizarre. I'm scratching my head at how we took such a big bounce in the positive direction during this whole virus with social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And like we had this talk before, I believe, fishing out of Key West not that long ago, we always go during the weekdays so we don't get caught up in the weekend traffic. And the weekends off of Key West, they look like Miami Beach in the weekdays. Or look like, it's crazy the amount of people that are out there right now.
Well, boat sales are up. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
get, out
Yeah.
of enclosed spaces and into wide open spaces. And I also have a theory that we've discussed this before. I think the used boat market is going to be on fire in about a couple of years, and people
Right.
realize what they got themselves into.
Everybody's holding their breath on that one. Hopefully it's not for a long, long, long time, but when that bottom falls out, and I hope it never, ever does,
Right.
it's going to be, we've
Yeah, I
seen
don't
it
wish
before.
it. I'm just thinking there's going to be a lot, especially a lot of the, nothing against
I've got
Miami folks, but a lot of these Miami guys that got themselves into a smaller center console just for their family, and they're going to realize that they need to maintain that thing too, and it's a hole in the water surrounded by fiberglass, and what's more worth money into?
that's,
Yeah.
and that's,
Definition of a boat, right?
that's an understatement.
Yeah.
But I think we're also going to have two other issues, and that's how are we going to retain all these anglers in our sport, and then how are we spreading the conservation message? Because with all of the additional anglers and boaters that are out there,
That's a darn fine question.
I'll
right
tell
there.
you the answer because I've lived through this through good times, recessions, and the industry and the whole bit. When things are really good, everybody wants to do it. Hey, he's got a boat now. That looks fun. I'm going to buy a boat. I got some extra cash or whatever. I'm buying a boat. I'm in it. So you get the fringe people now that think this is cool. They buy a boat. They're into it. And then things start getting a little bit tight or whatever. They're the first ones to actually leave it. But from the beginning of time all the way through whenever this bubble bursts, and like I said, I hope it never, ever does.
when the stimulus money runs out.
When that runs out, they better keep that printing press going.
You mean it's still there?
Well, then there you go.
But what supports our industry, the fringe people jump in because it's cool and they want to do it and their neighbors have it, their friends. And then when things get a little bit bumpy, they're gone. But the ones that continue the sport industry through the good times, the bad times, are the serious, hardcore anglers that view this as their passion in sport. Now, during hard times, they might not go out and buy a brand new outboard. They're going to milk this thing till things get a little bit better. They might not buy new tackle till things get better, but they're spending gas, they're buying some lures, they're buying baits, they're keeping that economy going. So when things are good, the fringe people come in. When things get a little shaky, fringe people are out, but it's the backbone of the serious fishing people that keep us going across the board when things get a little bit tough.
I also think that those people that you mentioned, the backbone people,
Yeah.
it's really on them to have the responsibility and the wherewithal to promote the conservation message like you're talking about. So these people that are new to not only the sport,
I
but
think
the
it's out there.
lifestyle, well, it
It
is.
could be a lot better. That's true.
Yeah,
but
it could,
I think
it could
it's
always
out
be
there.
better. It could always be better. I mean, we just did a really great episode on the local issues on clean water yesterday, and I think everyone needs to understand, the current state, especially on. I know you guys have your own issues over
Yes,
there.
we do.
Have our issues
Yes, we
as
do.
well. And I think everyone needs to have a clear understanding as to what. So awesome. We're moving.
I'm about to say, the roof on up. How's your liability insurance?
I think the studio.
Did somebody bring an imaginary
For those
friend
of
in
you
with
not
them
watching on
today or
YouTube,
what?
the walls are starting to
We're
fall.
literally, we're watching a roof collapse right behind Dennis.
It's so good.
Oh gosh.
Well,
Anyway.
go ahead. You were.
I don't know. I'm
you were
drinking
saying-
rum. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, that's really strange, isn't it, John?
Very strange.
It's very strange, isn't it, that the walls just fell down? You know what else is strange? Our strange questions.
Oh,
Segue.
Here we go.
So you're a radio girl. You got to appreciate
we
that
go.
segue, right? So we got our strange questions here. So we're going to mix these up a little bit. Don't let me forget to read Ben's on my phone. All right. And a good friend of ours, right? This is, I'm going to introduce this way, all right? Because this is going to be the segment that Papa's Pilar specifically represents. Yeah, so this is
go figure, but go ahead.
right. This is the Papa's Pilar strange questions of the day, coming from our good friend Jerry Hawes.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And he asks, George, how many Papa's Pilars does it take for George to give up those yellow eye numbers?
And the yellow eye numbers, if I want to state here, well, there was a picture that ran, I think you posted it on your site, Dennis, of Debbie Hanson and myself from Treasure Cay when we were
Oh, is that what that was?
cranking those snappers.
Oh, wow.
From
Yeah.
600 feet of water. That was the picture.
So I
you
posted the right
referred to.
picture today.
You
And
did.
let's just
Yeah.
be mindful of who actually reeled those fish
It was
up.
her. I'm not even trying
and
to
who
claim
was
it.
just holding the fish.
I was taking the pictures. I was taking the pictures too. But in reference or answer to Jerry on that, how there's not enough rum that they could pump out of their distillery for me to give away any GPS numbers. I mean, my whole philosophy is that so many of these numbers and spots are mine, but then I have the opportunity when we do shows with guest anglers to go to a lot of their key spots. And they always ask me, please don't ever put numbers, or I said, I don't. I respect that.
Yeah, you should.
So whenever I sell my boat or whatever, first thing I do is completely purge everything out of all my electronics so nobody could get to any kind of numbers. So I respect
You could probably
those.
charge more for your boat if you.
I
kept
wouldn't
them
even
in
do
there.
that. I know I could. Somebody actually, I'm not going to tell you whether the last person or one before that wanted to give me X amount of dollars more if I left the numbers in. And it was a healthy bite. And I said, I can't do that because these are people's livelihoods.
Yeah, that's good.
And they've trusted me. So you got the element of trust, which in my opinion wins out over money. So everything is purged. So in reference to Jerry, I don't give out any numbers whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
good on you. Good on you. Yeah, the probably gonna need. Are you gonna leave those numbers in your will to somebody maybe?
no, they're gonna put that in that 33 Mako they bury me in. I'll be holding it like the machine like this and
Yeah.
they'll drop me down.
You should print them all out.
I've been with Mako long enough. They might as well bury me in one.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You print them all out. You put them in a sea chest and just drop it,
Exactly,
like out in the
something like
swordfish
that.
grounds. And those are all my numbers. If anyone wants them, go get them.
So tell Jerry sorry.
Yeah.
Are the stone tablets going to be in there too?
That's going to help me sink.
Okay.
When those hit the ground, they explode, don't they?
but see, modern times,
Oh, good.
modern times, they've been converted to graphite.
Yeah, right. Carbon fiber. 10 Commandments made out of carbon fiber. Okay, this next question is for Debbie, which comes from my wife, Liz Friel, who now thinks that she is the best angler in the family since she
Yeah, Liz.
caught the largest speck trout there on the boat. So she asked Debbie, who is better at fishing, men or women, and why is it women?
Oh my gosh. Again, I don't think it's about men and women. I think it's just about being a good angler, period.
Good answer. Good
I think
answer.
it's
But
about
I do have
being a
theory.
good angler. I think that.
I have a theory on it, though.
Do you?
Yep.
I-
I think
okay.
women are better anglers. I really do.
Don't say it's because they listen better.
No, it's not.
Okay, thank God.
It's because, and I think this particularly speaks for fly fishing. I think they have just a better touch. I think women have a more sensitive, softer touch, and they can listen to the fish better.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah,
There is, and it goes back to
they
the
listen to the fish better, not the.
But we're kind of
instruction.
generalizing, right? We're kind of generalizing
Yeah,
a little
no,
bit.
true.
You're right.
She is.
You're right.
Kind of
I'm
generalizing
a
a
bad
little
guy.
bit.
I'm being the
No,
bad
I'm
guy.
not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, I've had both equally. I've had, you know, women on my boat that horse the fish in, and I've had guys on my boat that are awesome with finesse fishing a Ned rig, and you know, they can land an 8-pound bass on 8-pound test, you know, line, and it's no problem.
It
So
comes back to what I said originally, whether it's a male or female. It's when I explained Debbie, when I watched her offshore out of her element and but she did adapt to fighting these fish and the techniques. You know, you got a white marlin, one of the most craziest acrobatic fish. You know, sailfish has a certain rhythm to it, a blue marlin, greyhound, and white marlin comes off in several different directions. They're trying to either keep tight to that fish and work it. It comes down to that inherent rhythm that you have that you could adapt and pick that up, where she brought that over from the freshwater and the inshore saltwater she does over there. The same fighting techniques and rhythm came into play, and I watched how they she adapted to that when she was fighting the offshore fish. And it just comes across. So I'm going to go with her on that, it's you've got the men anglers that could have that right finesse touch, and you have the female anglers. I think it's more of a skill, an inherent.
I like that
skill.
answer that she gave.
I do
I
too.
really do, because you know, I really do believe it's all about the individual person and how they, you know.
Sure it is.
One thing that we do in our household with our children, or one thing we don't do, it depends on how you look at it, is there's obviously controversial issues in the world.
You don't say, do you?
Feminism, racism, you know, social aspects, right?
yeah,
One thing we don't, and it works really well, to be honest with you. So far, we've been noticing it's been very, very successful the way we do that, is that we don't spotlight these things with them. Like, we don't point it out. Like, just because you're a girl, I don't want anyone to ever say that you can't do it. I don't say that to her. We just don't talk about it. And the reason is because I don't want to, you're actually planting an idea in her head. Like, she could take that as, what do you mean? People are going to say
See, bingo.
that. You know what I mean?
yep.
And we don't say anything like, oh, just because someone else is different color skin doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? You know, they're any different. You treat them, and then I don't want the idea going, what do you mean they're different? You know what I mean? I don't want to be the one to plant that in there. And if you look at their smattering of friends, they have never once asked me, why is her skin different? They never even question it. Right? And I don't want them to. Like, we grew up in a time where the message was kind of like, you know, we want colorblind, right? And that really kind of resonated with me. I'm like, all right, cool, colorblind, let's do that. Let's give everyone equal kind of chance, colorblind, right? I don't like the enhancing of accentuating all these things, because I think it plants seeds that don't need to be there.
I agree. And
It's just kind of my theory on it.
And the little I've known you, which is really more than a little, you know, now that, you know, you're just a good individual. And so that carries over, and I've watched that with you. And that's why when you ask me to come over here and do these things, I do it, even despite I bring the free rum, but I still come because you're a good guy.
The Marquesa is great, by the way.
Hey, if I didn't,
I fill him full of rum. He gives me compliments.
I think you're ready
you
for
know?
a second round if you're
See
going
how
to pour.
you see why he's a show
I
regular
see
now?
how this
Right?
works. I see how this
I mean,
works
if I
right
didn't-
here.
you know, Debbie might. That was a Debbie might know. Debbie would definitely. She knows me enough that if I didn't like an individual, there's no way in the world that I would be sitting here even the time of day. I mean, that's right. I mean, sometimes I could be a little harsh in the other element, but the reason I come back here, you know, you're a good guy. You got a good team in here, you know, and I enjoy coming here. So.
That warms my heart, George. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's just Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving.
is
It's
That's
our
right.
Thanksgiving.
We're all getting to the
There's
Thanksgiving
all kinds
mood.
of positive
If
vibes
you
going
pour-
on right
if you pour a
here.
second round, we can enjoy
Yeah, all right.
Thanksgiving.
There you go. The second round, and we'll do this one in the honor of our good friend Brent Meckler is coming
Oh
up
my
next.
God!
Yeah,
Here comes trouble. I can see
here's
this
trouble,
a mile
trouble,
away.
Trouble brewing. So we're going to do a little bit more of the Marquesas here, round two.
But you got to think too, getting back to this male female issue or topic we're on, is that I would never, and I'm sure you take the Gale Force twins, you take any other women that are out there in this industry working professionally, they would never want somebody, I would never want somebody coming on my boat and saying, oh, I booked you because you're a female guide. I would want somebody to book me because, hey, I've been out with you before. You knew your stuff.
Right.
You put me
Right.
on fish.
Right.
You know your stuff. That's what it comes down to.
Pleasurable experience out there.
I
with
want to
a
book you.
personality.
Yeah, I want to book you because you're holding a monster fish and you were here before me today.
No, and she does. She catches impressive fish.
That's why I want to book you.
I've got to brag on her. She catches some impressive fish, and I know we talked about this before. I play with freshwater. There was a period of time when I was growing up. It was all saltwater. That's how I got my hook. But then growing up, I fished this one canal. It's going to remain nameless in North Miami because I still now start sneaking back in. It's a good canal to fish, and I would fish for bass, and then I would love it. And then of course I go back to the saltwater roots. But there's a part of me that still loves that freshwater fishing because you did that as a youth, and so you're out there in like freshwater. Even saltwater, you have your benchmarks. What kind of fish you want to catch? How big you want to catch it. Then there's a freshwater, and there's only one benchmark, in my opinion, that really makes a difference in freshwater is you get a 7, 8, 9, 10 pound bass. That's what I always tried for. But again, I never fished it as
You
hard as
tried
I
for
did
that one
saltwater.
too?
Yes, I did. My two biggest, I got a 6.5 and I've got a 7. And then Debbie Hanson sends me this picture of this thing, of this bass, and she could tell you how big it was. My reaction when I responded to her said, "I hate you." How big? What was that big bass you caught?
I got a 10-pound, 6-ounce bass
I
on
hate
Lake
her.
Ixtapoga, but that was research. That was research,
research.
which
That's
you
what I-
can
that's what I call it.
appreciate as an outdoor writer.
Yeah, that's what I call it when I go
I was
fishing too,
working-
research and development.
I was
Just
working.
remember, the IRS is not fond of research on your returns.
Well, no, this was.
I write
yeah.
off all my Bass Pro receipts because research and development.
Talking about this is probably not a good thing on an open forum.
No, I went up to Lake Ixtapoga. I had been studying the trophy catch program through FWC, and it's really, to me, fascinating because I'm intrigued by all the science. And what a lot of people don't know about is the Lake Wales Ridge here in Florida, which to me
I
is
noticed
just
you write a lot
amazing.
about that a lot. Yeah.
It's an amazing geological feature that we have in this state that a lot of people just have zero clue about. And it was, you go back millions of years ago, and when the sea levels were, they were going up, like rising and falling. The Lake Wales Ridge was the sand ridge that was created by those changing sea levels. And now it was the birthplace back then of unique plant and animal forms, and one of which is our Florida strain largemouth bass. So there is actually the Florida Bass Conservation Center, which is in Webster, Florida. It's one of the largest fish hatcheries in the state. They actually have a team of geneticists there that are studying preserving the genetic integrity of our Florida strain fish because of the fact that people were bringing in bass from other states and the genetic integrity was becoming diluted. So now they really work hard to preserve our Florida strain fish. And people come down from up north all the time, and it drives me nuts because they come out fishing. They're, I can catch bass up north. I can catch bass up north. I'm like, you
Not
don't
the same.
understand. It's a different subspecies.
Yeah.
It's a different subspecies. It's not as aggressive as the northern strain. It fights differently. It reacts. It's much more sensitive to changes in temperature. So our Florida strain fish to me are special. And the whole history of the fish to me is just intriguing. And if you go to that center part of the state along that ridge, that's some of the best bass fishing territory we have here in our state. And so it's like, man, get out there and experience it. Experience offshore stuff, the inshore stuff, but we've got so many amazing fishing opportunities here in the state to take advantage of. And I think so many people kind of get focused on one thing. And maybe that's my detriment sometimes. I'm kind of like an ADD angler. I'm all over the place, but I'm just I love.
Well, you're in the right state for it.
Yes.
Well, thank
that's
you.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. We've got an amazing.
To me, connected by water is Florida. That's when we always say, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, like all over the world, we're always connected by water because the whole world's connected by water. But really, to me, the innate meaning of the name is Florida because Florida is entirely connected by water. Where else can you bass fish, tarpon fish, snook fish, and billfish all in the same day? Within hours. So it's really an incredible anomaly, so to speak, of what this beautiful state has to offer. it speaks volumes to how we need to really preserve this from a conservation standpoint and recognize gems of locations like you're saying with the Lake Wales Ridge.
And there's one
Yeah.
other point and correct me if I'm wrong, on the ridge she's talking about, and isn't that the highest point of Florida?
It is.
So when all the flooding occurs, if you have property up along that ridge, you're gonna have oceanfront here.
But there's a correlation because if you study those lakes too, it's where the majority of the trophy fish are
It
being
is.
caught.
No doubt about it.
If you go to that Trophy Catch Florida website and they have a database of all the trophy fish that have been caught over the past, I think it's like 6-7 years, and you'll see correlations between those big fish are always being caught in the same fisheries. So, anyways, getting back to that big bass, it was genuinely research.
Wow, nice.
I hate
So
her.
when are we going to fish? We should go fish this place.
Well, like I said, that's a
We
whole other. I
should.
can't
Right.
figure that place out. I fished up there. I figured out.
Looks like
enough
you need
to
a
get fish.
guide.
Yes. Well, without a doubt, who comes in front? She's the one for sure.
Right.
I know my little canal I grew up on, and that's about it. But
and
if
we're
I
about
take
to
you
go.
out there,
We're going to do some of your secret parkland
will.
spots, right?
Well,
With,
no, that's
with our
Brent.
next,
That's
with our next,
Brent.
yeah, with our next guy here.
okay. Well,
right?
what kind of trouble is he causing now?
So, off of this question, I'm going to say to Brent that I'm going to try to talk George into allowing us to fish his secret peacock bass spots offline here.
I have secret peacock bass spots.
This is what we have to get blindfolded. You
Oh,
said,
no, I know
apparently.
what you're. But that's
Yeah.
the canal I grew up in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to definitely blindfold you.
So, okay. So Brent Meckler, a good friend of ours, asked George, it's the day of a shoot and your fishing partner bails. You are left needing a fill-in. Who do you take and why? Super ego and number one ranked most obnoxious celebrity Kanye West, equally annoying and also highly rated on the obnoxious poll, Justin Bieber. Or your funny, affable, and charming neighbor, Brent.
Well, to his credit and it pains me, to his credit, he's got a shot at this one.
Mm-hmm.
And now to bring you up to speed, you have a long history with Brent, and
Mm-hmm.
he is such a nice guy that you cannot help but not like him.
Right.
And I think it's his cousin or somebody lives down the street from me, and Brent keeps like emailing me, when are you going to take this middle-aged balding guy fishing?
Yeah, right.
And then he'll post pictures.
He's definitely middle-aged and balding.
Yes,
I
he
can
is. There's
confirm
no
that.
doubt. I can
Yeah.
confirm that too. And when it rains, he'll send me or he'll post these pictures and he'll email them of him catching tarpon on the Lox
On the
Canal,
spill, yeah.
Lox Canal there. Not even on the spillway. He these little outlets that come out when the water's being pushed.
The finger canals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he says, yeah, there's good tarpon bite. You put your rain suit on, and I try to get them on live shiners. They'll eat that, but they're hard to get them on artificials. And he sends me all these things. So I nicknamed him. I call him the Prince of the Lox Canal.
Yep. There you
That's
go.
him.
I like it.
But
I
I like him. And
You keep putting illustrations in my head today.
And going back with him, we go way back to when we used to do the Bimini Fishing Extravaganzas. That's where I think I first met him. And I can't remember whether when I had moved up here to Parkland or whether I was still in North Miami. I'm sure I was up in here, but that's where I met him. And he would tell me he was in Coral Springs next door. And we would chat. And the unfortunate part, we got to make it happen one day, just that we get so crazy busy, is he keeps wanting me to take him fishing. And I want to do that. And so one day when I get a break, he's going to get a surprise phone call. And I'm going to say, jump on board. We'll take you out, and we'll leave Justin Bieber and whoever the other guy was out.
Awesome. I can dress like Justin Bieber that day too if you want to take me too. That's all good. So all right. Thank you very much. So our next question comes from John Lose, who's a friend of the studio here, very prominent member of the Broward County community. He was actually on as a guest yesterday to talk about a lot of the things that they were doing for clean water, a lot of the innovations that his company is doing for the Fort Lauderdale cleanup, and some of the technology inventions that they've been making and headway they've been making to enhance all of the state and even beyond with some of the technologies that they've been inventing to clean up our waterways. So it was a really good episode yesterday regarding that. He asks, and this is a loaded question here. So, hey, George, can you tell us some of the great things that CCA has been doing during COVID to make up for the missed banquets? And also, how do you feel about the oyster projects? It seems it's starting to show promise. And also says, Debbie, do you get involved with the CCA on the West Coast? So it's kind of a loaded question.
Okay, well, loaded question. CCA, with their big banquets, they had some huge ones, especially on the West Coast, where they would get, like, I think the Bradenton area would get the biggest. I think they get like 900 people. And because of COVID, everything else, they're trying to do what they could do, try to go virtual and trying to hang in there the best they could. So you can't fault them on that. They're a victim of what's going on out there. And the next part of the question was how the oyster project's doing. I am not familiar with that because in our area, a lot of that's not going on. So I do not know what is happening.
Mike Lambrook's introduced a new program that's been kind of really showing up some on the little oyster donuts.
Okay, if you look at it at face value, oysters, big filter feeders. If they could adapt them and then put them out in intercoastal waterways or wherever, and they could adapt to this environment that they're in, I think it would be a boom because they filter feed the water. And over time, if they could I think it would help purify the water. But see, beyond that, and now it would definitely load a question, so you got me on this one now. Now you get me a little bit aggravated because water quality is such a soft spot with me. We're in a state where our tourism depends on clean water. And we have a government in there that pretends to be the big clean water people, totally neglect. Where all this Fort Lauderdale sewage spills, where was the governor? Did he make any special trips down here to see what's going on? Biscayne Bay, Miami, the big sewage spills. And how about that time a few months ago when all these fish were dying from all the bad runoff? And where is the attention? Especially Biscayne Bay, not that any one part of the state's water is more important than the other, but where is the importance on a beautiful area like Biscayne Bay? These fish are dying.
Yeah.
You got to remember.
I think there are things that Governor DeSantis is doing at the moment. I can't confirm exactly what they are, but some of the people that I've been talking to have alluded that he is taking action and has allotted more funding recently. Where that funding goes and how it's being utilized, I can't speak for that right now. But I think they are, with Congress and MAST as well, trying to, you might have different intel and knowledge than I do on the matter, but I have recently heard that they're going to help start making, and I know that the city of Fort Lauderdale was struck with a major fine over a lot of the incidents that happen through the state, did like a multi-million-dollar fine for the neglect of the different things that they did, but
that doesn't
I
help.
I don't know if that's enough. You know what I mean?
It's not enough.
There's
a lot of companies that paid upon it. It's the price of doing business. And I'm not making a political statement at all.
Sure.
I don't care whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or you're an independent. I'm talking about the issue that's facing us.
Yeah, no, we've discussed that before, how we don't really go there.
And I cannot believe, you look at the area up at Stewart, at Fort Pierce to Stewart. If you wanted to catch a big gator trout, that was the place. You could go over there, and you had some pretty good odds at the right time of the year to snag a trout that might push double digits. And because of the runoffs and everything, so much of it is just mud now. You go to where I grew up fishing, North Biscayne Bay. Growing up, we had beautiful grasses in there. I know that's back in the era of the Ten Commandments, but okay. But
Carbon fiber Ten Commandments.
you go back there now, and in the flats in North Biscayne Bay, most of them are just mud. And all this is from the runoff from the fertilizers with all the dams opening. And what gets me, and I get so upset, it's like where we live, and you have the lakes and the communities and the canals that we fish. They come by and they start spraying the stuff on the weeds.
Yeah.
What is that stuff? I mean, what does it do? And I know that when they open the dams and all this comes into the bays and intercoastal, and all that gets pumped out to the reefs, that's killing our reefs. The same poison that is killing the weeds and everything is killing the grasses. That dirty water gets out to the reefs. We have a serious
Big
water
time.
issue here.
We
and
had
what is
yesterday-
being done?
We had yesterday with the John Lowe seat and Miles Foreman, and there was Dr. Charlie Gregory was in with us too, and he's a marine biologist and a fish veterinarian. He's traveled all over the world, multiple degrees on the matter, and he's a proponent of this. And what was the name of that Sango bacteria or?
Cyanobacteria.
Yeah, so that's what forms when all the chemicals and the runoffs, from all the fertilizer and stuff happens and mixes with the water.
You get that blue-green algae.
Yeah, and it's
That's what it is.
it's even like beyond that, like so it almost morphs into like this new type of algae and this new type of bloom when all these chemicals like start mixing together. when a lot of it has to do with waste, like, fecal matter for lack of a better term, and the combination with all these chemicals, and it becomes this new thing. And that's really the problem of what happened at Biscayne Bay. That's what happened in Fort Lauderdale, because we had sewer outbreaks.
And it's ongoing.
And it's ongoing. There's no doubt about it. And something definitely needs to be done. Now, the solutions that our guests had yesterday were great, but they are only good for actually cleaning up the mess.
You can't.
The whole thing is that we need to come up with a
source.
program that maintains and sustains the clean water. Once it's clean, we're at the point where it needs to be cleaned.
Oh,
It needs to be
been way
clean.
past that
It needs to
point.
be straight up clean.
Now,
Right now, we're at 97% capacity. Right now, like less than 5% of our water is.
and it diverts you a little bit, because we could spend 5 years talking about this subject, but and you might think I'm a little bit crazy on this, but you take, and I say this because I remember growing up, and you come back from school, and then your parents or your mom or whoever would drop you off at the little canal, and you'd fish till dinner time, and you walk 3 blocks, go back to your house, and that was like a ritual, as it is with so many kids today, elementary school kids, junior high school kids, or what have you, is they fish these local waterways. They don't have boats, but yet they could go and they could fish the canal banks, go for the snake's head, the peacock bass. You see that all on social media.
Yep.
So why, and maybe it's impossible to do, but I don't think there's nothing that's impossible. Why, like Broward County, for example, commissioners, whoever it is, say, you know what, our local canals and these lakes over here, we should have some kind of either filtration system or come up with something that helps clean this water. So it gives all these kids coming out of school an opportunity to experience fishing at a very inexpensive level. They could get together with their friends. Hey, let's go over there. Charlie got a big peacock bass at this one spot. Let's try this. And by making sure that we have such clean waters in our local freshwater lakes and these canals that are polluted, some kind of system has to be out there to develop it. Encourage more kids to fish, which bodes our sport well, and plus gives these kids something to focus on. And then, as we all know in here, once you get focused on fishing, there's really nothing else. So you have no other alternatives to deviate.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It warms my heart when I see those kids with their
It's
backpacks
perfect.
on,
This-
walking the banks. I mean, it really does.
Oh, for
that was
sure.
me.
So give them
you know
the
what I mean?
clean
They're
water.
just-
Definitely.
They're just hunting for a good fish, man.
Sure.
And that's really all they want. And they get one good one, and they'll be totally happy for the rest
So
of the
much
day.
right on this stuff.
I tried to get Mayor Scott Brook in here, and he canceled the first time, then rescheduled, and then they canceled and never rescheduled. I wanted to bring all that up to him and to see if Coral Springs, because
I might have a connection for you in Coral Springs if you're still interested on that.
yeah, I mean, Coral Springs, we're in a very unique, and
No doubt.
Parkland the same, a very unique area when it comes to that kind of fishing, and it's very good.
It is.
You know,
That-
just
very,
walking the
very
banks
good.
and fishing the golf courses, and you get to see kind of a golf course to do that, but
I used to
still.
do the Miami Shores golf course back there and sneak in at night for snook because they're all in there, and
Yep.
and then you see the blue lights on, you'd run. Grab that snook out with you.
The second half of that question was for you about CCA in the West Coast, or and I would just open that up to any other coastal clean water initiatives. And how do you get involved in that level over there?
Yeah, I became a CCA member this past year, and I was all signed up and ready to go to the banquet when the
Yeah.
Rona came
Yeah, the
down.
Rona.
So I didn't end up going because I was concerned with, having a mom she has a challenged immune system. In case I needed to go up there, I was really concerned about being around that many people. So I didn't get a chance to go to the banquet, but I did buy a ticket, and obviously that became it's a donation. So yeah, and I hope to get more involved as the years go on. Obviously on our coast, we also, Captains for Clean Water is also a
Yep,
very
it's
active
another good
organization,
organization, yep.
and they've done a lot in terms of helping create awareness and just making it easier for those of us who feel passionate about the Everglades and the releases that they're doing out of the Caloosahatchee River. We're still rebounding. This year, the fishing is probably the best that it's been in a long time, but we're still rebounding after that red tide event that we had. So
Yeah.
it was the right thing for them to do, to shut down our big 3 inshore species without a question. I know a lot of people were very upset that it was extended, but to be honest, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't be hurt if they extended it for another year, because we're still not seeing, we're just now in Estero Bay where I fish starting to see some smaller sea trout. But, seagrass, again, like George was saying, even Estero Bay where we're at, we used to have beautiful seagrass beds. We don't have that anymore. There's no turtle grass really to speak of of it all. And now we are starting to see the trout, but they're still small. So my concern is we open that up May 2021, and then people are going to be out there and they're going to be taking all those trout, and they really never had a chance to grow bigger and mature. And yeah, and we're kind of hopefully, we'd be losing a lot of breeder fish at that point, which would be unfortunate.
Which is extremely important. Yeah.
Extremely important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just, hey, we want the fish to get bigger and we want there to be more of them. We need to keep those breeding fish populations healthy too. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you brought up Captains for Clean Water. I mean, that's a very important organization as well, and they do a lot of good, positive work. I also want to kind of add in about the CCA, at least some from the East Coast. There's been a small group that has been kind of like, criticizing the CCA for some of the things that they feel they need to be doing. And I just want to add this is that, listen, a lot of these clean water initiatives aren't on the CCA to fix.
That's correct.
That's not their responsibility. Their role always has been healthy fisheries. Right now, the clean water is a part of that, and cleaning up the water. It's not their responsibility to clean up the water.
And I've got
that's
a rebuttal
not
for that
That's not
too.
what the organization is about.
I know where this is sort of like going here. Is you got Captains for Clean Water, it's a phenomenal organization. Everybody should support that thing. Very, very good for a clean water. Now, people say, why doesn't CCA get behind the clean water deal? Okay, you got to understand is that certain groups do certain things better.
Right.
CCA is for our fisheries, trying to make sure that we have sensible bag limits and try to keep our game fish stocks at sustainable levels for future generations to enjoy. They're not really, of course, they're for clean water, but they're not in that dogfight. Captains for Clean Water, they're in that dogfight, but Captains for Clean Water are not in the same fight CCA is to try to protect their resources. That's not forefront, even though they like that. So what I tell people, and I get questioned this a bit, I said, you're betting on a horse race. Whether you got 8, 12, I don't know how many horses you start in the gate, but you bet on 3 horses that you support. And you hope one of them makes it to the finish line to be an advantage to your cause. And the one thing, and I serve as the offshore fishing spokesperson for CCA of Florida. And the one criticism that I would have, and I've told them this, and we got to get some movement, and we just don't get it over here, is when you see CCA of Florida, people think redfish, sea trout, snook, tarpon. And the fact is that 60% of what CCA Florida does is related to our fisheries as far as the reef, the wrecks, and the offshore. But they have a very poor marketing angle on that. And they wonder, why does Bradenton, that chapter over there, get 900 to maybe 1,000 people at the annual banquet? Fort Lauderdale gets 200 people. Fort Lauderdale, the population that we have, should blow them out of the water.
Well, how many people do we have? 3 million, 3.5 million people in Broward County,
but
something like
their
that?
message is out where people over here, we're mainly reef offshore because we're so close. So people are CCA, I don't fish for reds. There's no redfish, very rarely in their coastal. All right, occasionally I'll fish for snook. It's no big deal. I'm a grouper, snapper, kingfish, sailfish, wahoo, dolphin, swordfish person. So this whole section of South Florida, Palm Beach down through Miami-Dade, they're missing a huge mark, even though they're doing 60% fighting for us. They have a poor marketing job on that.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because so much of this is about outreach and the community involvement, and so I really want to kind of wave our flag for Broward, even Dade, Palm Beach, and just say, hey, get more involved. It's a great organization. You got
But they
Mike.
don't know.
Mike does a great job. Though.
Mike's a good guy.
Mike
He
does a great job out there,
fight.
and so I think that they're going to find that when they do come over to CCA Broward, they're going to come over to a great organization, and that's ready for you.
Yeah, but they need CCA itself has to get the word out and put
No, I
a
agree.
major marketing
No, I agree.
scheme that what we're doing for offshore fish, what are we doing to prevent them from closing certain sections of our reefs out here? What are we doing? Hit
I agree.
home with the reef and the offshore people here. Right now, everybody thinks from the surface there's snook, redfish, trout, and we don't fish for that.
Right.
Yep.
I know they just did the big artificial reef thing off
Sure.
here, and you don't really see anything on that. People don't know.
Very poor marketing on our side here, and that's one of my biggest complaints. And I tell them all the time, I don't know, just slow to get that moving or even off the ground.
All right. Well, really, really great answers to those questions. So thank you, John. And I know we sometimes spin off and forget we're actually in our strange questions category. So let's get real strange on this one, okay? And
why are you looking at me?
Yeah, I'm actually going to look at her, and then I'm going to look at you. Then I'm going to look at you. We got a question from our good friend Justin Broderick.
Oh, no. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Who happens to be filming behind me, and he wants to know, who is She Fishes One?
Oh my gosh. There is no She Fishes One. There is only She Fishes Two.
That's it. At She Fishes Two. That's Justin's little dig there. I thought that was kind of funny. He wanted me to ask that.
And it's a number 2.
And it's the number 2.
So
okay.
Yeah.
I got to give Justin credit. Why the number 2?
Well, there was actually, I was looking to trademark the logo, and there was somebody else that was using TOO, but I wanted, my whole concept behind She Fishes Too was there's a lot of women out there that are moms, that are students, that are, you know, they're multitasking, but they fish too. So they've got all these things going on in their life, but they still make time for fishing.
Gotcha.
So I wanted it to apply to all those women out there who were just being total powerhouse dynamos at home, but still making time to get out on the water. And
Nice.
TOO, She Fishes Too, was already taken. So it became the number 2. And it fit
cooler.
better. It
I
fit
think the
better
number
in
2 is cooler.
my logo. The 2 is in the tail of the fish, and it just fit better than, 3 letters.
It works.
Yeah.
You got your answer.
So there you go. There you go.
So, all right. And then the second one from Justin. George. Your last name translates to poor man in Italian.
Okay.
I'm just going to.
I'm going to tell you a weird story.
I'm
but
just
go
going
ahead,
to
finish it
assume
off.
that that's the truth. And he wants to know, is this just a way of hiding from the IRS?
If it were the latter, boy, I'd be selling a book on that and really make some money. It's funny because the name is Italian, and I had noticed for a while, somebody said when you translate that, Poveromo means poor man. And this is
Is that true?
Yes. Now, this is the honest to God's truth. Growing up on, and I don't know why I still remember my address, 1365 Northwest 91st Street in Miami.
So we need to make that place into a museum now.
I don't know about that, but our next door neighbors who just happen to be our next door neighbors, their last name was Bonomo. It was Joe Bonomo. And when you translated Bonomo, that was rich man.
No.
I swear, I'm not kidding. May that roof fall down on me and not you.
Your
next
neighbor?
time if I'm lying.
Your neighbor?
Back then,
Was
you
it your
grew-
next door neighbor?
Next door neighbor, right next door.
Rich man, poor man?
Yes.
You're kidding
I'm
me.
Right
not
next door to
kidding
each
you.
other.
It was Joe Bonomo, Bonomo, which means, rich man. And the funny thing is, my dad was a dentist, so he was really the rich man of the neighborhood. It was like opposite day.
You always look at him and you're like, we really know what's going on here, don't we?
I've known this growing up, but how ironic was that when I was such a young kid and your neighbors, and you know how it was back then, your neighbors were all your friends for pretty much for life, and and they were like almost like relatives, which they weren't relatives, but you had Poveromo here and you had Bonomo here. That's sort of weird, but it's the truth.
That's strange.
Honest
That
to God,
is
no,
strange.
it is strange.
For every
Holy moly.
strange question,
It
George
is.
has a weird answer.
I might have to give Justin a shirt today.
I'm telling you. And no, seriously, I'm surprised he did that much even research.
Wow.
And if people ask me, he says, well, I get that from time to time. It was Poveromo, what kind of name? Is that a Greek? I said, Greek? No. It's Italian origin. I said, except for St. Patty's Day.
Like Fragile.
I take the O off the end of Poveromo and I put it up front. So it's O Poverome on St. Patty's Day, and I could drink for half price. I'm Irish
like
when
it.
I move the O up front.
I like
but
it.
then for the other 364 days of the year, I put the O back where it belongs.
As an Irishman, I approve. I'm actually half Irish, half Italian.
Same here. I'm half Irish, too.
Yeah, that means that I have the innate ability to tell someone to go to hell to the point that where
Hey.
they would look forward to the trip.
I'm half Irish too, and I could recognize that you are by the way you're drinking that rum.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, we got one last question, and I'm going to go to my phone because he texted it in. It's from our good friend Captain Ben Sharp,
Oh, good Ben. I love the guy.
and he says, "Who or what has made you the most upset on the water, and what did you do?"
Who are you
Now,
talking to now?
To both of you.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna let Debbie start
I want to
first.
get both of your answers.
Go ahead, Debbie.
So who? Let me reread that so you guys have that fresh in your noggins there. Who or what has made you the most upset on the water, and what did you do? Take that however you want. It seems a little broad, but
Wow. I have to think about that for a minute. There's been a few times actually. Am I allowed to say that it might be with my husband?
I promote that.
Welcome to the version of divorce court.
Because
Bring the noise.
because let me tell you, having two captains who think they know what they're doing on the same boat at the same time never really works.
Right.
Yeah. So and I've
Too many
just
cooks in the kitchen.
and I've just learned that it's just better. That's why it was like, nope, just got to get my own boat, just got to do my own thing, just got to have my own business. I mean, Greg is phenomenal at what he does, but it's just now the unspoken rule because I've been told to do things. And Greg ran a restaurant for many years, so he likes to be he likes to dish out orders, let's just say. So there is a lot of mansplaining and there's a lot of
the
ordering
mansplaining.
around. And when you've been running your own business for a certain amount of time yourself, it doesn't fly. So
can
yeah,
relate.
there's been a few tensions. So it's just better that we don't
You know what my
fish
least
together.
You know my least favorite line that I hear in the studio is, "You know what you need to do." I hate when people say that to me.
Yeah.
You know what
Like,
you need to do.
Yeah, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Tell me what do I need
Yeah,
to do, please.
exactly.
Let me know. Let me know what that is. Let me know.
Yeah.
George.
Okay, it's when you're fishing, and there's not any one set incident, but it happens fairly often. Say we're doing a TV show, and we're anchored up or on a spot, and all of a sudden another boat coming by, they recognize, as soon as they think they see Mark 6, they're on the fish, so they come over to you. You're like a freaking magnet.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate when they come right over and they try to drive by it first, and they come back and they drive by off your bow. What they're doing is trying to pirate those GPS numbers where you're bottom fishing. And I guess the worst that had happened, and it happened a number of times, but the worst that had happened, we were fishing off of Marathon a number of years ago, catching blackfin tuna on a hump. We had our camera boat, and I'm here. And we're fighting. We had big blackfins. We got them like 3 in the 30-pound class. So each one on 20-pound test tackles taking a half hour to beat. And we're fighting. And the camera boat is 10 feet away. Camera guys in the bow shooting. And all of a sudden, I see a 23-foot Mako start coming in and coming in and coming in.
It's Brent.
And, no, it wasn't even Brent. He didn't own a Mako. if he was out there, he would have been. And they come 8 feet away, and you have to be diplomatic. You know what you really want to tell them, and what you tell them are two different things. So, last thing you want to do is be on
So you
social
say, you know what
media.
you need to do?
You don't want to be seen on social media wishing them a Merry Christmas or something like that. So, hey, we're trying to do a show. Please back off. And they, oh, we got to Mako too. Yeah, I could see that. Your bowels in the back of my boat. Move off. But the one that really irked me, and I had a conversation with the owner of this sport fishing group. We were out of Cudjoe, and you'll see the show coming up this January, part of our new season. But, of course, I didn't mention in there, we go to a wreck. We run off to this wreck.
New season on the Discovery Channel.
That's correct.
Right? So we'll just throw that out there.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we get anchored on the wreck, and our camera boat's anchored next to us, and we start fishing. Here comes another boat. Coming. I'm not going to tell you the name of the group that was with, but they do have 4 or 5 boats. And all of a sudden, we're fishing, and I'm on the bow working a jig, and this boat starts coming all the way to my bow. And I'm saying, what is this guy doing? And it pulls it. I'm not kidding you. Within 10 feet, might be 8 feet, until finally I had to be diplomatic, and I said, "Are you bringing me a sandwich?" And he's just looking. I'm hungry. The guy in the bow, and I looked at the captain, and so he backed up, and he goes right by the camera, and they start fishing right where we're at.
What?
Oh my gosh.
No, this was bad. This is a major.
Oh, my gosh.
And I want to say this, a
Party
major,
foul.
It's a first class
Wow.
charter operation. It's not a. It's a which got me upset. It was a first class charter operation. And all of a sudden they're fishing right by us, this and that, and the best thing that happened. As they're coming within 8 feet over here, we hook up and we boat this 25-pound cobia right in front of them. And they're
great.
sitting over there anchored, and they're not anchored, but just mowing around. It took about 40 minutes before they finally left. And I said, I know the person who owns that group. And so I said, when I get back, I'm calling him directly.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I got back to the dock, we had a good day, by the way. I called him back up at the dock. I refrained from having a Papa's Pilar first. I didn't want to say anything I don't want to be held accountable for. So, and I got him on the phone. And I said, and he goes, "Hey, are you in town filming?" I said, "Well, you are." But I said, "Look, I even hate to call you." And I said, "The only reason I'm calling you is because you run a first-class operation. You have a very good reputation down here." But I said, "I had a problem with one of your guys today." What happened? Who? And I told him what happened. Who was running the boat? And I said, it was this long-haired guy that had hair down past his shoulders. He looked like the lead guitarist for Leonard Skinner. Oh, my God, that's my son. It's a whole wonderful.
Oh, wow.
And so, but he said, "I'm going to jump all over it." I said, "Don't jump on him. Look, all he needs is a slight tune-up. You got to explain to him what courtesy is when you get to these wrecks.
He's the
and
best,
this."
isn't he?
And he said, "No, I'm gonna ream him." I said, "Don't, just don't." Okay, that's gonna get you nowhere. Sit him down, give him a tune-up, so he knows better the next time when he comes out here. So I was very, very aggravated at that point in time, and I got to compliment myself that I didn't say things that I would have
it's
regretted
not
later.
good. It's not good when you receive a phone call from the ambassador of ambassadors.
Well,
and
no,
just,
it's a first class. If it was a shady operation, you could understand it. But this guy runs a very first class operation.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we were doing a show this past season. My buddy Carl, we're fishing at a blackfin tuna on the hump, and here comes this boat. It's the same boat, but it was the owner running the boat.
Yeah.
He pulls, George. He comes on
Need
the
a
bow of the boat.
sandwich?
He has a sandwich.
Oh, no.
He has a
Does he really?
sandwich for me.
Oh, that's
Here's
hilarious.
a sandwich.
I was just joking. Did he really?
Yeah, I swear to God. And we're laughing. I said, "You're such a cheap guy." I said, "Where's the Papa's Poveromo Debbie sandwich? I want the sandwich." But he came up, and all life was good at that point. So it's just some people
goodness.
just do stupid things.
Was it at least the spotters? I don't know. So, all right.
Oh, my.
Those are our questions. Woo,
There's some good ones in there.
Yeah, made it through them.
Yeah.
So that was Ben's last one. We got our good buddy behind us with the funny ones with the IRS
Yep,
and the
that
she
was a good
fishes,
one.
and John and Brent and Liz isn't eligible for a free shirt, so she can't win. And then Jerry. So you guys got to pick a winner there.
Oh, you do it, Debbie. I'm not going to get involved. I don't want to make enemies.
Oh, great. Thank you.
But while she's
Thank
thinking,
you.
Dennis.
Thanks for putting that one off on me,
While
George.
she's thinking, could I have another cookie?
Yeah,
Because I heard it
absolutely.
said
More
it's not good to drink on an empty stomach.
I agree.
I'll take another
I
one,
think
too.
this needs to be a vote. I think it needs to be a vote, and there
think we-
needs to be two involved
No,
here.
no, you're-
Oh, great. You're putting it all off
All
on
right,
me.
well,
Good grief.
in all fairness, Justin gets whatever he wants from the studio whenever he wants. So that's so maybe we'll just say that it's all these guys do. So anyway, we'll say Brent's the winner. We need to throw a bone to Brent.
All right, throw
There
it.
you go.
All right, so
I'm on
we've
board
already-
with
all right,
that.
so Brent, you're the winner
I'm on board with that.
of the free Connected by Water shirt. Winner in a chicken dinner.
I'm
So-
excited about my stickers. Thanks for those.
Yeah, well, you're going to get plenty. Trust me. So listen, and you're welcome. By the way.
But before you jump to the next time, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
You're always asking these crazy
This
questions.
is where I go.
But I
Start
did have a
crawling in
question for you.
I start crawling in my hermit crab shell.
All right. I saw somewhere in your bio, did you work for the U.S. Mint?
I do work for the United States Mint.
You still do or did?
I still do.
And what do you do for them, if you don't mind me asking?
I am one of 27 artists in the country that are responsible for designing the coins in your pocket.
Well, another question for you, which relates
And
to...
also Congressional Medal of Honors, presidential medals,
That's
different things like
amazing.
that.
Wow.
Second question, which relates to that. Could you come over around 9 o'clock tonight, help me design some dollar bills? We print them off?
You know what? I cannot. Do you know why? Because I don't deal with paper. I just deal with coinage.
Oh, what do you got? Any coin machines? Let's do something.
No, I don't. You know, in fact, I can say they work.
How did you get hooked up with that?
My wife, she saw. She's always on the hunt for national calls and different opportunities and everything. Because my wife's an artist as well. And she looked at this. She goes, "This is perfect for you." And with the way they kind of laid out what they're looking for, an accomplished illustrator, and that also knows master level Photoshop, and Adobe Illustrator, like Creative Suite stuff. So we kind of hybrid over here at the studio because, although we do the fine art, we also cover with all the apparel design, and so, we have extensive years of experience, and the resume indicates it that highly qualified for this position. And I applied, and I just applied, right? And I didn't hear anything for, 6 months, whatever. And I completely forgot about it, to be honest with you. And I get an email like, "Hey, you qualified for the next round. Cool. This is what you need to do." Right? And I don't know if I'm really privy on saying what I needed to do, but we had to design a certain thing.
Yeah.
I guess almost as a test. And I sent it off and I forgot about it. And a couple months later, I get another email. "You've qualified for the next step." Okay, awesome. This is what you need to do. And I did that. It's another design thing, right? Or you're working on actual things. And I did that. And I remember Liz's parents live in New Jersey. So we were up there for, I think it was, maybe it was a summer break. And I woke up. I'm always the first one up in the house. Maybe it's the fisherman mentality that you just wake up, right? And I just, everyone's sleeping. I'm just, drinking my coffee and look at the phone. And pardon my French, but this was the true words. I saw the email and I said, "No shit. Congratulations, you've been accepted as an artist for the United States Mint." Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I've been doing it for about a year and a half, maybe.
What a badge of honor, huh?
Yeah. And it really is one of the true honors of my life to be an artist for the United States.
So which coins can you say which coins you've worked on? You're not able to say that?
Now, working for the government, it's very
hush hush.
tight-lipped.
I get it.
And, you sign your life away.
If it's a quarter,
and rightfully so.
If it's a quarter, could you autograph one for me?
You know what? I can't. I cannot. That is part of the thing. It's like I'm not allowed to do things like that. But
I heard there's a coin shortage.
actually,
right
I might be able to do. I might be able to do it. I have to check the things. I might be able to do it and not charge you. Like I might be able to do it like that. That I think that's kind of. I know there's a bunch of things.
I'll give you the quarter.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that I sign away. But I got to tell you, it is truly one of the honors.
That's
of my
amazing.
life
It really is. I saw
what I mean?
that and I said, "Wow, I need to ask him about this."
That is so cool.
It's the kind of
Dennis.
thing that they're probably going to mention in my eulogy. So I mean, it's really and I gotta also say, like, working with the United States government is not as bad as people may think. I mean, working with the Mint team especially has been nothing but a joy. Like, they're just true professionals, just the greatest people. They truly respect all the artists in the program, and it has really been
That's awesome.
one of the most beautiful experiences of my artistic career.
Beautiful.
Like, for sure.
Well, congratulations.
That's awesome.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
we
Yeah,
are working on real
congratulations
projects.
on
I mean,
that.
I'm not allowed
So
to really
exciting.
talk
Sure.
about like what happens there, and rightfully so. There's a lot of moving parts to that.
Yep.
So I'm just a designer. There's also people that are responsible. There's sculptors that actually sculpt the molds and get all the different things done. So I'm just one cog in the wheel. I will say that, but it really is truly an honor to have that responsibility. And yeah, thank you for asking that.
No, I saw that.
A lot of people forget that I'm actually an artist for the Mint. So
No, that's
yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah, thank
Totally
you.
amazed by
Thank
that.
you very much, and you stumped me on that one a little bit. But I do want to kind of pass over and just say, not only do we have our own show here, Connected by Water, where we got fancy microphones in front of our faces and all that good stuff, but you're no stranger to this, and you have your own show, right? And the ESPN radio.
On Saturday mornings,
Saturday
in
mornings.
the Southwest Florida market on ESPN. It's Real Talk Radio. I just took it over from the previous host, Captain Rob Modis, who had been hosting it for 10 years. So I just took it over. That was actually the first week of February of 2020. And then I was hosting the show.
wow.
Well, so here's what happened with that. George got a few
Damn you,
calls.
COVID.
Yeah, so in mid-March, all of a sudden, Beasley Broadcasting says, well, I know the format of the show is you normally have a guest in the studio with you and there's conversation, but you cannot have anyone in the studio with you as of
ESPN's mandating
now.
this?
This was through Beasley Broadcasting.
Beasley Broadcasting, okay. You may
Correct.
have said that. I probably that place over my head.
So for the next, I want to say 3 months, 90 days until I think we went into phase 2 or 3. It was 3 hours of me just really hoping that all the local captains and a lot of, people in the fishing industry would call in with support and with fishing reports and to offer some, fishing tips and words of wisdom, of which George called in. And so it was awesome. It was actually, in hindsight at the time, it was one of those oh shit moments. But in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened, because now 3 hours on air and now they've allowed me to have one person back in the studio. Previously, Rob used to have 2 people in the studio with him just to make sure the conversation went kind of like we're doing today. But
I do like the dynamic of having multiple
3
people, like
Yeah.
even 4. We have another mic too that we can load up too. I like that. It really makes. I like the round table aspect of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no problem with the one-on-ones. I really don't. But I like the round table. It's more fun for me. It's
Yeah,
more,
it is.
You're hanging out, and we break out the rum and we have a good time. So it's,
we don't have that on
Yeah,
Saturday morning.
so-
We don't have that. But it's, the other thing is like I said, we've got a lot of folks calling in, giving reports from, really all over the state. And I'm hoping to kind of expand on that. We've started to get more into the freshwater and really, because I'd like to cover all aspects of fishing. Primarily before the show was mainly focused on inshore saltwater, but I think there's, as we were talking about earlier, there's just so many different amazing fisheries that we have in our state that people aren't aware of, that they don't have exposure to, that we should be getting, some coverage from other parts of the state. And
Yeah, no, I agree, and I have to say, I mean, I've listened to the show, and it's phenomenal. First of all,
She does a super
yeah.
job with it, really does.
And everyone who's got any amount of time on their hands should just listen to this. It won't be a waste of your time. That's for
gosh.
sure. And you do talk a lot about a lot of current events and different things that are going on in the local area about, hey, these fish are showing up, and we got this stuff going on. And I was really intrigued by that, especially as a person being over here. Listening to, because I do get over there every now and then to try to fish, and sometimes I'll fish with Captain Jeff Page from the Insider Fishing Report. Is a good buddy of mine, and we'll get out there and throw the artificials, and he likes to yell at me and, I thought you were a gunslinger. I guess not. Hey, I'm married to the studio, but sorry, I don't catch redfish as good as you. But anyway, yeah. So I like hearing about all that, too, even though I'm over here, and but it's good. It seems very informative, and you do a great job delivering the whole process. So, So if anyone gets the opportunity, how do they find it online?
it's 99. Well, you can go to 993 ESPN.com. So people can listen from anywhere. They can stream it through the 99.3 ESPN app.
Yeah.
They can listen online, or obviously if they live in Southwest Florida, it's just 99.3 FM.
Yeah. You like being
So-
you like doing that? Pig?
I love it. Like I said, it
I
was.
think she does.
It was
because she's good at it.
Yeah, she's good at it.
It was trial by fire initially, for sure, but I just love the camaraderie that's developed. There's a couple other shows on the ESPN network, and there's a golf show on Sundays, and now we've kind of started going back and forth with the golf guys about, like, we're going to do a bass fishing / golf tournament on all these golf course ponds. And, it's just the camaraderie that Beasley, I think, has built amongst, all of us that have been on the airwaves over the past couple of months. I think a lot of us initially, the golf guys, were considering taking their show off the air during the pandemic, and it's like, no, we can't do that. Like this is people are looking to get out there and fish and get outdoors and participate in anything that they can on the water, on the golf course. So we got to be there for the community, and it's been an experience, but it's been fun, and I'm finally starting to feel like I'm sliding into a rhythm with it.
Yeah, I mean, I went to art school, right? So like this. Everyone always asks me, like, podcast, really? Like, what? How did you come up, Well, when I was painting, like, long hours, it's like, you listen to the same music over and over sometimes. You're like, I just want to hear something different, and I'll start throwing on these podcasts while I'm painting. Listen to them all day long. And I got the notion, like, I want to do one. You know what I mean? Not like, hey, I think this is going to be a great marketing idea or anything. I just want to do one. And so we just really started off cold. I got introduced to John. From my friend Jimmy Wickett, who runs the Meat Mayhem tournaments. It's just a phenomenal tournament circuit. So anyone that is into like meat fishing, which kingfish mainly, and they have the Fort Lauderdale Meat Mayhem. It's an excellent, amazing circuit to be involved with. Introduced me to John. Say, hey, I know you talked about wanting to do the podcast. You should meet my buddy John. I think you guys could do it together. John has been a godsend in bringing it. So we developed this show, and we started cold. Like at first I'm just bringing on my friends, and hey, let's try this thing and everything like that. And just, we got so warmed up to it so quickly. And I got to tell you, I fell in love with doing this. Like this show is like, I don't want to say my baby and say it's our baby, but we really I think we've developed like a fun little thing here. And I just enjoy doing it. You know what I mean? I mean, we're just basically throwing caution to the wind and seeing,
and it breaks up the normal things that you do.
Yes, it does. And it allows me, listen, I mean, I'm married to this studio. Obviously, I'm married to my wife, but, she's going to be, wait a minute. No, but it really, I mean, it's, it takes up the majority of my time. And, I'm just so buried in creativity and doing creative work, whether it's video or painting, whatever. It just takes up so much. It's such a time suck that you need that kind of exit. And I like that people come in and I get to have great conversations, and it's just really it's cathartic for me. That's really why I do it. And I mean, and now that Papa's Pilar, when Joey came in as the presenting sponsor, I was just like, yeah, this is really, really great. And then now Papa's Pilar is coming in. The show is, I guess we can officially announce here that it's presented by Joey Cardi, fueled by Papa's Pilar rum. Moving forward for all eternity, God willing. So we're extremely excited about that, and I'm just probably more excited about the fact that they've given the acknowledgement to the show, and it speaks to its reputability. But I'm going to be getting free rum, so it's.
That's like I said, hey, you can't bring the Dodge or the Ram truck in the studio, but you can bring the Papa's Pilar, so there is some accommodation.
Yeah, so we're, I mean, and I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I mean, do you feel that passion when you're doing it? Like, do you just have fun with it? I mean,
definitely, and I think I love. I love that name, Connected by Water, because it's true. And I think you and I, when we were talking on the phone, when we were coordinating today, it's true. No matter where you are, you can be in an airport and you're wearing a fishing shirt, or someone sees me carrying my fly rod case, and it always sparks conversation. No matter where you are, people...
Like, ooh, they're one of me. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, you're people. Like, these are my people. And those experiences that you have, like, the trip I took with George to Treasure Cay, I had never done a crossing before. I had never... I mean, on the way back, I was starting to... regret it a little bit, but
on the way back there, she was real quiet.
Got a little sketchy.
But I mean, it is those experiences that... Those are lifelong memories, and the bonds that you create with the people that you go out on the water with and you catch those bucket list fish with. Those are memories that you'll never, I mean, they're priceless, totally priceless. So I think when people call into the show and you hear that enthusiasm when they've just caught, a 40-inch snook and it's their biggest snook ever, I mean, you get just as excited for them because you know what that means. And, I mean, people always tease me because whenever I'm on the boat and I catch a big fish, or someone on my boat catches a big fish, I literally get the happy shakes. Like, I shake. I shake from excitement because I'm so excited. And make fun of me. That's fine because
No,
when
no,
that
I mean,
feeling goes away,
everyone should be
that's
so
a
lucky in their
problem.
lifetime to feel that way about what they're passionate about. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. So I mean, it really is a blessing to be able to, make a profession out of doing something that you love. Which is not to say it's not hard work. I mean, really hard work. The time that you put in.
Anything worth celebrating should be, right?
Amen.
In some aspect, I mean,
Absolutely.
The hard work's a virtue. It's the way I see it. And the rewards that you reap from that hard work, I mean, just make it that much sweeter.
Yep.
It's so true.
And I think that's why it should be a part of it, because and I think that's why people get criticized when things happen, too easily for some people, or they've been born into a situation where there's things just. And I think that's why people don't really look at that as like a true accomplishment sometimes, because they can just say, yeah, you didn't really work for that. And I think there's a lot of value to that. There's value to work. Working hard for something. I don't know. So maybe it's the rum talking, which it usually does around this time of the podcast. So I want to do some promotion here for you guys, right? So George, January is when the new season is.
Yeah, our new season of George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, year number 21.
Mm-hmm.
We kick off on January, Discovery Channel, 8 o'clock Sunday mornings. Beginning with the first Sunday in January, going through June. We're down to shooting our final 2 episodes. Next week will be in Key Largo. The following week will be in Marathon. And that wraps up 13 episodes. And then we edit them and start in January. So another year, getting ready to go behind us.
Nice.
In January.
Nice. Maybe a Connected by Water episode.
Never know. You and Brent Meckler.
It's a massive peacock fishing. So that's great. And
it's funny because we joke around. You want me to take you to the canal, and I thought about doing an episode out of there, but I said there's one other person who now is like guiding out of there. He's a saltwater individual. I'm not going to name any names because you can put 2 and 2 together. And I said, for me, growing up there, it's like a sacred canal. This is where you grew up, and the fishing is good in there. And so I spoke to this individual, and I said, I'm going to ask you this, because I thought about doing something different, doing just a knockoff where I grew up fishing in this canal for a show. But I said, I know that you charter in there. Now, you and I had discussions that you don't want anybody really blowing that place up. So I wanted to bounce it off of you before I even made that decision. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, my God, that place is just so good. We don't need anybody coming in or discovering that thing. And I said, you're right. And I said, I sort of had that in my heart, but I wanted to bounce it off of you. I needed you to tell me not to do that.
Trust.
And it's it's such a, it could be a hard place to fish, but it could be a super good place to fish. And it's a small area and doesn't need the notoriety to be beaten up and all that. So we decided I'm not going to do it.
That's good. Good on you, because some places need to be held sacred.
Yeah, and
some things
that's
need to be
one
held
of them.
sacred.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you don't get shot, you might catch some fish down there.
Now I know where you're talking about. Cool. Very right. So catch this show on Discovery Channel this January, right?
Yes.
And hopefully we'll get a. If I give you a Connected by Water cookie, maybe I'll get.
It is getting close to lunchtime. These are good cookies. That I had
they're really good cookies.
And she makes a very good cookie.
Be careful how much sugar you give George now.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. So if someone
I can't wait to see that bonefish episode. That's gonna be a good one.
It was a very good one.
Yeah.
And it just showcases Miami what it is. Okay,
That's my favorite kind of fishing, by the way. Is fishing for bonefish.
It's
it
amazing.
really is.
It's amazing. And okay, again, as you all know, I grew up in Miami. And of course, all throughout your fishing formative years, it was always that magazine articles and any early TV shows way back then. Miami's Biscayne Bay, biggest bonefish in the world. That was like the major destination to go to get big bonefish. And then something happened the last 10, 15 or so years. You don't hear about it that much anymore, just like it faded. And I know that
runoff.
You get, you get the largest bonefish there, because what happens with the bonefish right there at that part of Biscayne Bay, it's pretty much the northernmost part of their range. And when you look at a species, whether you go to the northernmost part of their range, those species tend to be the largest that can withstand any different temperature variations or more aggressive temperature variations. And that happens, you go off Virginia Beach or those places there, you get the larger of these species. Well, Biscayne Bay is a place where you get the largest bonefish because of that being the northernmost range or limits of the range. You go to the Bahamas, you could get schools, 50, 100 bonefish. Half a pound to a pound. You know, we troll ballyhoo bigger than that. It's fun.
Yeah, a lot of them
people
are
get them to
tiny.
eat anything. Get them eat, they can throw and get them to eat this cookie. That's how. But for the biggies, Isla Morado has always been a very known spot. Key Largo, although it doesn't get fished as hard as Isla Morado for bonefish, but Miami's Biscayne Bay has long been heralded as the premier bonefish spot. So I said, let's do a show down there. We're going to wake up the dead. No one's, what happened down here? And I was with Joe Gonzalez, who's a longtime buddy. I've known Joe way before I even
Joe
got in
is
the
the
industry.
man on Biscayne Bay.
No, there's no doubt. I tell him is that when they ever do a book on the top 5 all-time Biscayne Bay flats guides, Joe would be within a doubt within the top 5, if not within the top 3. That's how knowledgeable he is, and he's a wonderful guy. I've known him way back.
I'd agree with that.
So we go out, we fish. And again, we're not doing a poling technical skiff. I've got the 21 light tackle skiff, power poles, and a trolling motor, okay? And you get some very skinny water with that. So we're doing it without poles, but with a trolling motor. And, we hit some beautiful bonefish. The biggest one was like 9.5 pounds on the show, which showcases why that destination is
bone.
That's awesome.
But that's Miami. So I'm wondering, why did it fall asleep for 10, 15 years? So we did a show.
Because you haven't been down there in a while.
I don't know about that. I'm more an offshore guy, but it was certainly fun getting out there and catching big bones. And so that'd be a pretty cool episode. And we did it 3 ways. We did working the trolling motor, sun at your back, and sight casting the fish and catching them that way. Then Joe told me, he says, you know what I found the day before, George? I saw this big giant mud. I thought it was a mullet mud. So I go up and I cast. The bonefish were mudding. So it said, I got the tide in the area. We're going to go an hour later when you're here, see if they're still there. Well, we were out there, and we saw them mudding again. I'm talking about the size of this parking lot. So we threw in there, and we're catching them mudding in Biscayne Bay like they would in the Bahamas.
That's great.
Wow.
Then the third thing we wanted to showcase is, anchoring and just chumming them up behind the boat and having them come in and pitching a bait in there. So caught them 3 different ways, and it was an exceptional trip, and I'm telling you that the bay still has it down there.
The funny thing
So
is
cool.
when I saw, so cool. When I saw you post those pictures with Joe, and I think I commented, I got so jealous. Oh, George, you went down there. Look at you, look at you.
You and Brent Meckler were having a competition. Who was posting the most on my,
I was like,
my thing there.
look at you. All right, so tell me some things about that Fort Myers fishery a little bit. I mean, I want to promote your charter.
About Estero Bay?
Yeah, and about Estero Bay because, I went down, I fished, this is about maybe a month and a half ago, I fished with Jeff, and we fished all throughout the Charlotte Harbor.
Yeah, so you guys were north of where I'm at. Yeah.
Right, so you were in a different fishery. So
Yep, I fished
I'm not familiar with that
Estero
one,
Bay
though.
primarily, which is south. And so south of Pine Island. I don't know if you know where Pine Island is,
Yeah, I
but essentially, Estero Bay is pretty unique. We've got a really phenomenal juvenile tarpon fishery, which a lot of people I don't think realize, or if they realize it, they don't utilize it, which that's just fine. But we've got a series of, 5 rivers and creeks that feed into Estero Bay, Blackwater rivers and creeks. And, certain times of year, primarily spring and fall, those juvenile tarpon stage just on the outside of those rivers and creeks. And man, it's just so much fun on artificial and fly. It's just an absolute blast. And like I said, I mean, we definitely saw the repercussions of the red tide event that we had a couple of years ago, and it's still bouncing back. But there's some areas, up in places like Hendry Creek and some of those creeks too, where there's just some monster snook if you spend some time up in those areas. And obviously the red fishing is really good. I mean, in the fall months, we get the big bull reds that come in right around the passes. And right now we're seeing some phenomenal pompano fishing, nice size pompano.
Really?
2 pounds on average, but we've seen some in the past couple of days, I think 4 to 6 pound range, like big
Pompano. Wow.
pompano.
Wow.
Big pompano. And even near shore right now, we're seeing a lot of big kingfish. Some really nice cobia have been coming from some of the near shore wrecks and reefs. So yeah, it's the area. I think, you know, for a long time it's highly pressured. I mean, Fort Myers Beach is a big tourist destination. So there's a lot of charter boats that go out of that area. But I think that, you know, a lot of the awareness that has been created through organizations like Captains for Clean Water, and just the fact that we've shut down that fishery for our big 3 species has really helped it start to rebound. Because we've seen some of the biggest,
that you're seeing those results. After
some of the
doing that.
biggest redfish that we've seen. You know, we were seeing a lot of big, you know, bull reds this past late summer and early fall, which was just fantastic to see. And in good numbers. I mean, you know, there were days guys would come in and they had been out there catching, you know, 20, 30 redfish on a half-day trip. So
Yeah, we hit them pretty good last time I was out there too. So that was good. That was reassuring. Yeah, to see that for sure. And it's one of the things I like about the West Coast that I kind of miss a little bit sometimes. You know, again, I'll reiterate. I went to art school in Sarasota, so I have a little bit of, you know, an experience of living the lifestyle of the West Coast. It's completely different than East Coast lifestyle. You know, whether you want to say one is better than the other, I would not even say it's an argument. It's just they're both different. You know, it's just they're just different places.
yeah,
And one of the things I love that you kind of mentioned were things like creeks and different, you know, nooks and crannies and different places like that. It's such more of a natural coastline over there. That you can get deep into and, you know, and really kind of, you know, use your angling talents in a different way.
it's a great place if you're a kayak angler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of versatility over there. So sometimes, like, you can hear, it's like sometimes you get that mentality of like go big or go home. But, you know, you can come over to the West Coast and just, like, you know, lay your attitude back a little bit and just say, all right, we're just out in a creek today, or, you know, we're just going for the snooks or just fishing some oyster beds or something like that. And, you know, and just when you convert on a fish, it's just a different experience. But to me, it's just a beautiful work of art when that happens. So
Definitely. I mean, the sheep's head too on our coast. We see some big sheep's head that come in during the winter months, you know, so that's going to be what a lot of the captains will be focusing on.
And now, what are
here
big?
coming
How
up.
do you define big? What pound range would you say? 1, 2, maybe?
No, I got one on fly.
you're talking about the length of the front teeth?
Yeah. How far they stick out? You need a tape measure.
No, I got one on fly last year that was probably about 6 pounds.
That's why I hate her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets these
Right.
big catches.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
I mean,
Well,
and
if
on
you-
fly to get them to take artificial
That's
isn't
amazing too.
isn't
For a
easy.
sheep's head,
So
they do that.
That's on fly?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
6 pounds of sheep's on a fly?
right around the oyster bars, yeah, there's some chunky ones that come in the winter. But yeah, it's
That not everyone is able to catch. So it's pretty impressive.
It is. Even a natural bait, they're sometimes tricky to catch.
Yeah.
So
That-
think
that's
about
great.
an artificial. That's pretty
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah, that's or a fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, even more difficult. That's challenging. So if you want to convert some fish like this in style, like on fly rod, right? How do people book you for a charter?
they can just go to She Fishes 2, and that's the number 2, not She Fishes 1, not She Fishes 1, number 2. Yeah, they can just go there. There's a contact form on the website. They can just fill that out. That goes directly to me, or they can just give me a call. Dare I say my phone number on air?
That's your call. It's all good.
I can always screen the calls. No,
Yeah.
and they could just call me directly. It's 239-233-4930. So
Nice.
either the website or just give me a call.
Yeah, we will definitely be booking you. I'm going to have my whole family overloading your boat and get the kids fishing on your boat. So we're all, one might fall in every now and then, but it's okay.
Yeah, I can only take 2 as of now, but hopefully in the future, you know how it is. You get one boat and you always have to upgrade. So eventually later on down the line, hopefully start getting into more fishing some of the brackish areas and hopefully more of the saltwater stuff.
Yeah.
So
Are there any aspects that we didn't cover today you'd like to promote?
I think we did a great job covering it. Yeah, it was
okay.
awesome
All
being
right.
in here with
I
both
just
of you
want to make
guys.
sure
and-
that we didn't leave any stone unturned there for you. So, and I really appreciate your time, especially driving over from the West Coast.
Are you kidding me? Thank you so much for having me. And I always love hanging out with this guy. How
This
can you
guy's
not?
the best, isn't he?
All of his sarcasm. Yeah, we didn't get into the offshore vortex story yet, but that's another day.
Is it?
That's today.
That's today.
How do
Oh, we have
it-
time?
it's-
Aren't we on a,
You know what?
like,
That's funny. On the
clock
back of my
here?
sheet, I'm glad you brought that up. It says offshore vortex story right there.
You cannot leave and go back without talking about the
Oh, you got to
offshore
tell the
vortex.
story. You tell it better than
All right.
me.
All right. As I mentioned, it's our first time, going, especially in Bahamas fishing. So we're taking her
Well,
offshore.
this will be what brings it home. By the way.
Okay.
This will be our bring it home
Yeah.
story.
So we take her offshore, and we're making.
I better have another sip of this
Yeah,
right
better.
here.
In Treasure Cay, and we're making that long run, 150 miles or whatever, 180, whatever it is. We take off, and then we clear Palm Beach Inlet, and the camera boats run alongside. I'm with Debbie in the Mark 6. We're running along, and I said, Debbie, now you got to be, careful. When I tell you to hang on tight to the T-top, you hang on, because I said, we're going to see some offshore vortexes along the way, and we've got to really run around them. And she goes, what's an offshore vortex? I said, you don't know what those are? And I said, they generally occur around the middle of the Gulf Stream. And I said, did you ever flush your toilet and just see the big tornado that goes down? I said, these are
Really?
vortexes, but they're offshore. They're caused by this weird interaction between the Gulf Stream flow, the moon,
He
the
likes to have fun,
barometric
doesn't
pressure, and they get these big vortexes that go down. Scientists measured them down to 500-600 feet. So said sometime when
I don't remember you getting that specific.
You're a bad man, George.
me either. I think I'm elaborating now. But
You
anyway, we were running. I said, if we see them together, we got to remember if we get caught in one, like on the circle, I got to hammer the boat to power out of it. So make sure you're hanging on your T-top. And I think you may ask me, what happens if you get caught? And I said, you go down. And I had her going. And she was worried about these offshore vortexes.
He didn't get that specific with the number of feet or yeah.
But so we got to worry
just
about
heard going
the
down.
offshore vortexes going across
Yeah.
the stream.
Yeah, well, he was like, have you done a crossing before? Have you made a crossing? And I was like, no, I haven't actually.
Well, the second you said no, he's just like, well, I got a
Yeah,
live
exactly. Yep, that's exactly what happened, Dennis. That is exactly what happened. And now to this day, anytime he calls me with a story, it's like, the boy who cried wolf. I don't believe anything he says.
one.
I'm
Well,
like,
we
George,
have
really?
we do have one more surprise for you to end the show.
Yeah, we do.
John, do you want to reveal the surprise? We have some popcorn for you. I don't know what the inside joke is.
I'll tell you.
Seriously.
I'm going to tell you the
George.
story, and I won't exaggerate on this one. I'll tell you the facts. All right, this all started, the popcorn incident. You might as well hold it. It's yours. You're an expert at this, so hold on to that. This all started with the seminar series, and what we did, we didn't do it this year because we ended right before the COVID thing hit. I mean, right when it did. But the year before, we decided, let's have a party for the touring national faculty members. Those are the people that do at least a minimum of 2 of the 8 stops on a tour, and the people who work the front and help us. And we decided, let's do a party. And we did it up in Central Florida, Howey in the Hills.
Mm-hmm.
So Debbie had done 2 or 3 stops on the tour, so she was invited to come to the party. So Crazy Alberto and me brought all these fish in, or we contributed fish. He was making sushi that night. It was just a nice, good party. Probably, I don't know, what do you say, 12, 15 people maybe?
Yeah.
Or something like that. And so Mike Goodwine, one of our touring faculty members, who was a Tampa Bay guide, tours with us. He's like the king of comedy. He gave her the nickname. He calls her Miss America, because he's so proper and a whole bit in there. So that's like their little thing. She's known as Miss America. So we go to the party, and naturally we had Papa's Pilar rum there, and then Alberto's doing the sushi, and he has sake. Now I don't think I even tasted sake before, so that's not my thing.
Actually, I brought it.
Okay, you brought it.
You brought
brought
the
it.
sake?
So
Yeah.
I just stuck with the Papas. So everything's all good, and we're enjoying it. And then we had this big picnic table like in the patio. So we're all sitting there afterwards, and all of a sudden we're talking amongst the group, and this popcorn hits me. And I don't think much about it. and another popcorn thing hits you. Then the third, I said, where is this popcorn coming from? And I see Debbie over there throwing this popcorn and just throwing it. And apparently, I think it was a sake. What are you going to blame it on? I'll give it. I'll
No,
let you-
it was definitely the sake. It was like
Yeah,
it was a pear sake. So it snuck up on you because it tasted fruity. You know, you didn't really.
It got her too.
Yeah, but here's the thing: I wasn't just throwing popcorn for no reason. I think there were a few like Miss America comments that were coming from the other side of the table.
But it wasn't me.
So there was
So
a
it
hard
was
tactile
ammunition.
reason.
It might have been from Mike Goodwine because
All right.
I generally.
Well, I think you were just in the firing line, though.
Yeah, because I generally don't antagonize, but
Right. You know, you never.
generally
He never does that.
All right, that was all right.
Time out.
Never
Hey,
does
I'm
that.
throwing a yellow flag.
That was a lie.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis.
Not a true statement. Fake news.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
So long story short, and then we had everybody staying at the local inn, the golf course place, and so everyone's getting ready to leave, and then of course Debbie,
Be the country club golf course, please.
yeah, it's by Howie in the Hills, the
Okay.
Mission Inn golf course.
Okay.
It was about not even a mile from where we had the party, so that's where everybody was staying. So everyone's starting to leave, and I said, well, we can't let Debbie leave like that, all the sake, because, I'm not going to let her drive these country roads. So I asked my buddy Carl and his wife, I said, hey, would you do me a favor, take Debbie.
Poor Carl.
And bring her back to her place. She could come back in the morning and pick her car up. And I said, she can't be driving these country roads in this condition.
The poor girl's throwing popcorn
There'll
at
be
me.
freaking popcorn all down the highway. The Department of Transportation give me a fine for spilling popcorn. So
I was feeding the herons.
they took her in the whole bit. So anyway,
yeah.
next morning you wake up and so I'm going out to clean the place up, but I'm looking freaking popcorn freaking everywhere. So you sweep that stuff out and then no big deal. And then I go back there about 2 months later and I look where I swept the popcorn out. I've got full rows of corn growing behind the place out there right now because of her. But anyway, that's the popcorn story.
He never exaggerates either.
No, not at all.
None.
I love it.
He's just in a deal I got from the ethanol company.
I was
selling all
wondering where
those
he's
corn.
going. He says, make sure you have popcorn in the room.
I told Dennis that you need to have
I
popcorn.
said, okay, fine, we'll bring in a bag of popcorn. I don't know why, but we're doing it.
Because everybody,
Right.
they hear,
Yeah.
there you go. They hear the glamorous part. They hear the glamorous part
hungry.
about
All the
everybody. But people want to know, okay, what's the other side? Everyone hears all the cool things about people. So I said, well, bring a bag of popcorn in. We're gonna unload this
The
one.
glamorous. When does the glamorous part kick in?
I don't know.
That's what I was kind of wondering. But I was kind of wondering the same exact thing.
So anyway, there was a side of Debbie that
I love
I
it.
just thought I'd bring it up for some good humor. And Miss America, loves to throw popcorn.
That was a good way to bring it
It
home.
was a long season. Somebody forgot to bring me my crown.
That's right.
What can I say?
It was one of those
no
times.
sash, no crown.
No, there's no crown needed.
So the popcorn.
There's no crown.
Seems justified to me.
Yep. So I guess it's one of those things you had to
I
be
get
there.
I get hazed about offshore vortexes. I mean, can you understand why there might be like pent up,
I understand.
See,
There's a regular
you
on the
do.
show.
You
I
understand completely. Exactly. Case in point, right there.
1000%. Good way to bring it home, guys. Good way to bring it home. All right. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, right, contact our buddies at Joey Cardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. With the best price selection and service in town, they will hook you up. Right? Tell them Connected by Water sent you. Tell them Dennis Friel said, go in and buy a truck, and you do, and you did. Right. They have a wonderful line of vehicles right now. I personally drive that Dodge Ram Rebel. I couldn't be more in love with that vehicle. It's just phenomenal. It's the best truck I ever owned.
So when I'm ready to trade my Jeep in,
Yes,
They've
absolutely.
got me.
They've got you. You're a Jeep owner.
yes, I am.
How does this happen?
Sahara.
I know he's not, but like
I have a
this
friend
seems-
today.
What's that?
I have a friend today. Usually everybody owns Dodge or Jeep in here.
Right,
and
so
I'm
he's a
the only one that
GMC.
doesn't.
He's a GMC
Oh,
guy.
okay, GMC.
So he's a GMC guy. It's okay. But I said 90% of the people, and I don't plan this. I go, oh yeah, and they go, no, we own a Ram. I'm I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Own a Jeep.
Well, as I mentioned the last time, we had this discussion that the Rams have done tremendously well
Yeah.
with the
Tremendous.
2500, 3500s. I mean, they did their homework, and they're really doing incredible things out there
Yeah.
right now. And like
Yeah.
I said it before, and I'll preface this, I'm a Ford guy, but they're doing unbelievably well.
Yeah. Yep. They are. Absolutely. When you're driving your Ram truck and you happen to get hungry and you might be in Lighthouse Point, you might want to consider heading over to Papa's Raw Bar and ordering something off the Connected by Water inspired sushi menu that they have at their location.
He's got his own menu.
Yeah, we do have our own menu at the sushi bar. At the
Wow.
best raw bar in all of South Florida. Hands down, Papa's got it dialed in. It is the local of all local spots that you could ever kind of think of. And Troy and Cassidy, you can see there, good vibes, eat, drink, and be local. That's their saying.
I'm going to go drive down, look at the mural, and then have some sushi.
Yes, absolutely. And go ahead and check those guys out. We wanted to mention at the end, as we're doing on every episode for the Fishing for Muscular Dystrophy, the FFMD, they're ffmdraffle.com. They are raffling off a brand new Ford Tremor, brand new, a beautiful truck. And they are also raffling off an Everglades Bay boat and a brand new golf cart. We wrapped all of them, custom designed all that in collaboration with our good friends at Sign Zoo. And don't do it for the reward, do it for the effort. Right? There's an outstanding organization. Paul Robertson is the owner of that organization. He suffers from MD as well. Actually, I don't even want to say he suffers. He thrives from it, right? Because that is the type of person that he is. Right? He doesn't let things get him down. He moves forward. He pushes forward. One of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life, for sure. But he's also one of the most driven. All the money from that organization goes right to the kids and all the kids' camps. And it really is, they go around and they fish tournaments to raise awareness. He's laid out a lot of his own money for this. It's not the type of organization that you're paying just for their fishing. Through this organization, they have raised millions of dollars for these children. It is I'm just going to say it's a horrible disease. And just kind of leave it at that. What they have to deal with, the shortness of life, and just the trials that they have to go through while they're living their lives is just horrible. So please give to this organization. They do this raffle every year. We are more than inspired and happy to be involved with them. And then also, did we cover all bases? I think.
Yeah.
On that today.
Yep.
So okay. I don't mean to get too emotional about that one, but that organization
very good
really
point.
really is close, near to my heart, and
Sure.
we only get behind people that we really truly believe in. They don't pay us to say any of that stuff. We just really believe in their efforts and their work, and we want to promote that as much as we possibly can. So cool, Debbie. Thank you for the cookies. Thank you for
You are
driving
so
over here.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I really
think a lot
had a
of
blast today.
I think a lot of
It was
our key
awesome.
customers are going to be getting some Connected by Water cookies for Christmas this year. What's your friend's name again?
Her name is Eve Nolan, and her company is Eve's Custom Cookies and Cakes. And yeah, she
Yeah,
does, as you can see, a
Jenny's gonna call you.
phenomenal job.
phenomenal job. So Jenny's going to be
Yeah.
giving Eve a call here and placing a bunch of orders. So thank you for driving all the way over here this morning.
Happy
I hope
to
you
do
feel
it. My
was
pleasure.
Worth the trip. I hope we were hospitable
Other than
to
the
you.
abuse that I took today, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm sorry, to deal with this guy, but you.
And the thing is, he keeps coming back for more.
I know,
Yes,
right?
come back to
Glutton
work.
for punishment.
Right? So, and I'm very happy that this guy lives down the street and comes on the
Me
show all
too.
the time, and it's just we're honored to have you once again.
Well,
sir.
like I said, always honored to be here. Like I told you earlier, you're a good man, and you run a good show, and you have a lot of good people. And anytime you want me here, let me know, and I'll come here. And if you need more rum, I'll still come by.
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway.
Nice things.
It's always enjoyable doing it, and like I said, I'm down the street. It's always fun hanging out with you guys. It really is.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
George.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, George. And remember, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we are always.
Connected by water.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.